Welcome to the Wild Nova podcast. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Join me as we explore holistic health for your body, mind, and spirit through inspiring interviews with experts and seekers. It's all about a balanced and fulfilling life. So let's dive in. On this week's episode, get ready for an inspiring discussion with Leesa Garnett. Leesa is the captivating host of the Love Leesa podcast, which she started back in 2021. On her podcast, she takes you on a journey of self-discovery through discussions on spirituality, self-development, and the profound experiences of motherhood. Beyond her role as a podcast host, Leesa spends her time with her beautiful family and serves as a spiritual guide, mentor, and psychic medium. So please join me in welcoming Leesa Garnett to the Wild Nova podcast. I want to thank Leesa so much for coming on today. I'm so excited for this. I'm
so excited for it too, and it's been a while since I've got behind a microphone too, so this is a good push for me. This is. Honored to be here.
Yay.
I'm like, I'm important, or I'm special, or I don't know what word you said. When you were inviting me, you're like, I forget. I'm just trying to interview cool people. Something, and it flattered me. It was like one simple word, but I got real flattered.
So now, I'll go back and use that word for more people. Yeah. Be like, according to Leesa, this works.
This makes you feel wanted.
But it was I wanted to bring on people that inspire me in different ways, and that I just find so interesting. And
interesting. I think that was the word.
Probably.
Such a simple word, but you even just felt it there.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But it's I don't know. I like hearing different parts of people's stories, because I find, even in my friend groups, there are always questions that I want to ask people, but either I forget during the time, or even there's a couple things in here where I'm I know the answer, but I really want you to tell it again, because it's my favoriteest thing in the whole wide world. So it's it's kind of the mix between telling me more, and it's and giving people the platform to be able to actually talk a little bit more about themselves and share with kind of a wider range of people sometimes. And
I like talking about myself, so this works great.
Great.
I just like talking.
Yes, I know.
It's just the talking part.
That was that was one of the things that came up when Dan was my husband was oh, so have you ever interviewed people? I'm well, no, but I really like talking.
I'm pretty sure I interview everybody around.
I'm it's just, that's what I do. I have a ton of questions, but at least in this place, it's okay to ask the questions.
Yeah. No, it's a good reason.
Yeah. And it's then they're more open and okay, you're setting down, and it's I never ask questions out of judgment.
Yeah.
Just pure curiosity. I really just want to know everything about everybody all the time.
No, I couldn't feel you more. That's how I feel so much. I'm let me know the deep shit that's behind who you are. Let's really,
Yeah.
I'm a little and you know, I feel you are too. It's just really intense people that way. It's I just want to know all of you if I'm going to get to know you. Don't just give me the surface stuff.
No.
Let's.
My goal is to almost sometimes know you better than you know yourself.
Fair.
And it's because everybody has this, they're oh, but I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not starting out. I'm are you kidding? I've seen you do these amazing things that you just play off as a day-to-day thing. And it's oh shit, I am powerful badass.
Yeah. I know. It's hard to remember.
Oh, well, okay. The first question I want to ask, that I'm asking everybody, was, what were you like as a child?
My God, I so knew you were going to ask me this. No, but seriously, I was driving here thinking about this specific question or something along that. What was I like as a kid? This. I'm still very much, my inner child still here. I would say playful, sensitive, pretty wild, but just like a force, sort of. Like, I've always wanted to be seen and heard and loud and big. And sure, we can say some of that is like the environment that I grew up in made me need to be that way. But it's also just me.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking, I was thinking on the way here, how coming into this world being such a sensitive being, and coming in here always feeling like I had something to lead or prove or like do. Like, I remember being in like Girl Guides and like leading the group like to do something and being like, how do I have this power? Like, just seriously, it's just always being in me, but it's still fascinating me of like that I could hold. And
well, because so many people like shy away from that spotlight, where it's like they're scared to put themselves out there, and just even right off the bat, you're like, I'm here.
But no, seriously, I do feel that, and it's always kind of, you know, I grew up like a lot of girls grow up being told to just like
simmer down.
Like, you're too much, you're too loud, like too sensitive to everything.
Yes.
And so I did shrink myself for a lot of years, but as a child, it was there. Yeah.
So then, what is something you wish you could tell your younger self now?
That was really sweet. What I heard in my head was like, you're gonna turn out fine. Yeah. Like, in a way, like, I think coming into this world, being as sensitive and as, like, intuitive and just, like, I don't even know, it's hard to even describe who I was, but the way that I came into this world, I didn't have an environment that could meet that emotional need, that couldn't, on the level that I needed it, on the level of nurturing that I needed. And so really, a lot of the time when I think about my inner child and what she just needed was just like a hug, or just to be held, and just to scream, cry, be as big and as loud as she wanted to, and to know that it was okay. To be that big and loud, even when you're angry and you have bad behavior or all of that. Yeah. She's okay. Yeah. Exactly as she is. So, yeah probably that. She's okay.
Well, and it's also like embracing that part of ourselves now. So it's like sometimes we weren't able to do that. So part of that inner child work that a lot of us dive into is like embracing the fact that, okay, I couldn't do that when I was younger, so I'm going to embrace it in myself now.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm going to bring her now here with me to be that be everything that she was. She can still be. Yeah. Because she's still here. Like, the inner child's still somewhere inside of everybody, even if they're like this big and somebody's like pinky toe it's still there.
Give somebody some Lego or Play-Doh and watch their inner child secretly put them in a room with it, and I don't know anybody that wouldn't grab the Play-Doh and just even start smooshing it around a little bit. I love the smooshy feeling.
Oh man, when we make slime and stuff, I was all about textures.
Right? I still will walk down like in the dollar store, the toys aisle, and like, ooh.
Yeah, you know, there's those things where they I don't know how to explain, there's little things that float in them.
Yes, and it's like that tube. I just picked one up, literally.
I can't not in every other.
Yeah, 2 days ago, I picked it up and I was gonna buy it, and I was squishing it around, and I was like, this is such a, because I was like, ooh, I could fidget on this while I'm working. Yeah. And again, it's those horrible hand movements where you're just because it
no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so I was laughing because I was like, okay, maybe I don't need it. It was one of those, I don't really need it. I can. Yeah. So I put it back, and it's I've thought about it every day. So it's only been 2 days, but I'm totally
no. Yeah, just I hear you.
Have those toys around to play with sometimes. Yeah.
I don't know. I've always been into that kind of stuff too. Silly putty was huge for me as a kid. Yeah. I would all night. I don't know. I'd fall asleep at night playing. I would put it away before I went to sleep, but I would sit there, and that was partly how I self-soothed to even go to sleep was silly.
It's
silly putty. I would make bubbles and make them pop.
I love the bubbles where it looks like a pierogi almost.
That's exactly what I make is little pierogies.
Like try and blow it up and then it just bam! Yeah.
Oh my god, I've never known somebody that knows the depths of silly putty, but yeah.
I love silly putty.
I would fall asleep like that at night for some reason, but yeah.
It's just comforting. I don't know. There's something soothing about it, and yeah.
I think too, as you grow up, if you don't necessarily have somebody on the outside teaching you ways to self-soothe, we do find ways, and we find other things that worked.
Yeah, mine was anger.
Yeah. No,
was like, I'm well aware of that.
Here.
Yeah.
My rage is still uncontrolled sometimes.
Yeah. There's been times where, like, I was just talking to Rochelle, and she was saying that a lot of women that she noticed is, like, the ones that, like, are holding in their anger, a lot of them actually have to get their gallbladders removed.
Oh, yeah. That's where it's stored.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I probably have the healthiest gallbladder ever. Like, it's probably just gorgeous. It's like, I don't store the anger. No. I'm like, I'm just gonna let it out now.
Yeah, liver and gallbladder I hear a lot of.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's crazy how much we store. And even, like, being a mom now has just forced me to, like, face how big of a monster your rage, like, it's just anger.
Yes.
But then it becomes rage, and it becomes these, like, psychotic moments of, like, complete eruption when it's been pushed down for so long. It becomes a monster.
And when you're not doing, like, some of those mini self-care techniques and stuff in you to be like, actually take care of yourself. You're like, I'm fine. And then you're like, I am not okay right now.
No.
I'm gonna throw somebody through the wall.
Yeah, and you do. Sometimes you do. It does happen, and then, I don't know. At least for me it does sometimes.
Of course.
Yeah. My hands sometimes just start flying when I'm way too angry. Yeah. It's scary stuff. It's like, but that's what I was getting at too, is like, if you learn, like, you can start so young teaching those kind of, like, ways in order to cope with that, because that emotion isn't wrong.
Yeah.
But then we're told, and then we shut it down, and then it becomes the monster. Yeah.
And we're told not to, like, embrace the bad feelings.
Yeah, or, like, it's a bad behavior if you're angry or...
Yeah. Like, a kid hurts themselves and they throw a temper tantrum or something, and it's like, no, they're just trying to regulate their system.
Yeah.
And you're stopping
Fascinating. Yeah.
And it's like, most of the time they have a reason. Yeah. Sometimes it is just for attention, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's a behavior that's still, like, it's still a symptom. Or it's still, like, I need help.
Yeah. They're telling you their needs.
Yeah.
And it's like... Yes, sometimes it comes off as a temper tantrum. I need candy in the middle of the grocery store.
I definitely throw temper tantrums.
We all do. And it's like,
time we expect these kids to be a certain way, and it's like, God, like, I can't get a bag of chips open sometimes, or, something small like that.
Yeah.
And you just, like, throw it in, like, I don't know.
It's, there's moments, or even, like, it comes out with frustration with my husband, because, he's the easiest target. He's around. So it's like, I'll just get frustrated with him at something, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I have overworked myself. I've underslept. I'm stressed about, like, getting this and this done. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't paying attention to my, like, physical needs and mental needs. Yeah. And now I'm taking it out on you.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not
at least being able to recognize that is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be like, there's something off inside of me if I'm acting like that outwards to people around me, because it's never their fault. Even if they tipped the iceberg, it's never.
No. And same as when someone reacts like that to me, I take it less personally than I used to.
Totally.
Because I'm like, and I'm like, because if I'm strong enough in myself, what you say doesn't matter.
No.
You can say anything to me, and I'm just like, But if I have a trigger on that, it shows me, I'm like, oh, I got more work to do there.
Yeah, there's some medicine there.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was thinking about that, too, on the way here. I was thinking about how, like you just said, like, there's this concept that, like, anything you see inside somebody else exists in you. So if you don't like something about somebody and something about them triggers you, it's like, it's a reflection of something inside of you. And I was thinking about that on the level of, like, sure, I've always known that concept, but until you actually start, like, doing the work to really, like, I don't know, like, you can know that, but then you feel it. And then it's a whole different level of awareness when you're like, oh, but it actually is me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about them at all. It actually is me. I don't like that part of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just so many different levels of awareness that you travel through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, there are shitty people
Totally.
doing shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there really is.
Yeah, it's like going into being like, oh, well, Hitler being such a bad person reflects something on me. No, he was just a shitty person.
There's a reason for things, but it doesn't always justify them.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, someone yelling at me on the street. Yeah, it's going to set my nervous system off.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
But, and there's a reason he's yelling, but it
Yeah.
doesn't justify him screaming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So... Totally. I go off in tangents all the time. That's just...
I'm going to get lost a bunch, so just keep bringing me with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, like, why it's like, oh, yeah, the recording is way longer than, it's like I have one sheet of questions, and it's like, oh, 2 hours later.
2 hours later.
Yeah.
It's easy to talk that much, though.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's part of why, like, I wanted you on the podcast, too, is because we can talk for hours.
We can. We do.
I think
we can talk for 6 hours straight, probably. Never run out of things.
Oh, easily. Easily. On one subject.
Yeah, true.
So I wanted to kind of jump a little bit into, like, your spiritual path.
Okay.
So what kind of got you started on it?
Yes. I would say that I've always been on it, for sure. There's always been that spark of me knowing that there was more.
Yeah.
Or that there was something bigger. But I would say, even though my mom is not at the level that I'm at now, she was definitely probably one of the main things that set the course for me, believing in that. And always knowing, like, I've always known angels were real. And I've always known that you die and you go on to the other side. Like, I've always, that awareness has never been something that I had to gain.
Yeah.
So I think my first biggest spiritual awakening, though, like, I think I talked about this once on my podcast, but one of my biggest was when I was like 11 or 12 and I saw my grandma die. And, well, I didn't see her die, but I saw her dead body. And I remember my mom, like, came and got us and was like, come see grandma, she's gone. And I remember I walked to the, like, edge of the bedroom and I just stopped there because, like, who I was looking at the bed was not grandma. Like, it was weird. It was like a whole different thing was lying there.
Yeah.
And she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first moment of being like, wow, something left.
Yeah.
That kind of, like, sparked my whole thing of just, like, something's changed. And just hot, heavy, fast stuff and a lot of things in my life that just kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. I actually did watch my grandpa die. Again, I saw the soul leave, and it was like, wow, okay. There's something to this, but it wasn't until, honestly, my real, like, journey of, like, doing the work and, like, studying spirituality and, like, making it my life, it wasn't really until, like, the end of 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, right before COVID happened, which I think happened for a lot of us. That was the purpose.
Yeah.
Everything led me to that. Like, it's not like I wasn't into it before.
But it, like, was, like, supercharged. Yeah.
That took everything to an entirely different level.
Yes.
Of awakening.
Yeah.
And just being like, everything I've ever known about anything is a lie. Like, everything. Everything I thought I knew, everything I thought I was is nothing. And it's just gotten progressively more intense. And I like to take every step that I get to and go to another level of, like, contemplation.
Yeah.
I take it all the way to I spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's so great because there's just so much to dive into for it.
There is.
Like, yeah, every time you're like, oh, I didn't realize that I was right at the surface of this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
there's 25 more layers here, and there's like, and the depths of.
And there's missing puzzle pieces that you don't even realize that all of a sudden, like a year later, you're like, oh shit.
That's why. Yeah. Yeah, or you just like graduate too. Like you just graduate to these different levels, and you're like, first I understood the concept, then I understood the concept, then I understood it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you think you've got it, and then there's this whole other layer of comprehension that comes.
It's like when you're in school and you learn math.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm acing math. And then you learn algebra.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell is this?
This is a whole different... There's letters in here.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Why are there letters? I was told the math was numbers.
No, but actually... And then there's words and like when you do...
And symbols. Why do they add symbols?
I know. No, that's exactly... That's a good example. It's like... Yeah, you have to...
You're like, I get it. Okay, we've added letters.
Yes.
We've now added letters. And now what is this damn symbol that you're adding in that means something completely different?
No, it's true.
And
that's a really good... I like that because you can physically see that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like on this journey.
It's all math.
Yeah.
But it's just the depths of it.
Yeah, it's wild stuff. I'm so excited to be here doing it. Like, I actually am.
There are moments where I'm just like, okay, I feel like I've had enough.
Yeah.
Like, can I have a break?
Yeah.
Can I just 1 month? Just give me a month break. And they're like, haha, no.
No.
I'm like,
no, you're in school. Buckle up.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you thought you could handle like nothing less? Enjoy.
I know. Yeah. I just got out of one, so I'm feeling that, yeah.
Yeah. So then what's like one of the craziest things to happen to you during your spiritual journey?
Oh, man. I think what was really cool, and like, this bothers me that this can't still be a thing, but when I was first going hot and heavy and starting to believe that there was something... I want to say greater than myself, but now I even feel different from that. But that's the word I'm going to use. When I started to find out that there was something, now I believe there is nothing greater than ourselves. Like, we are everything. We are it all. But when I was looking for something greater than myself and something that I could look up to as like a guide and a parent and like the nurturing love, really it was me, but okay, that's a different level. But let's just stay where I was, that when I needed proof, okay, if you're telling me that like I'm just this soul having a human experience and I'm just here, like show me that. Like show me that angels exist. Show me that like I can get a feather if I ask for a feather. Like, so I went so hard into that kind of stuff of like asking for signs and symbols and gifts and like, holy hell did it come in so, and I miss that, I do, because it was so magical, and it's not like I don't get a dime every once in a while or whatever from my grandpa, but that level of like awakening and fun. So what I was getting at is there was this one time where I don't know if I've ever told this story. Did I ever tell you about the cat?
No.
Oh man, there's a cat. Okay, so this was just trippy, and to this day I have nobody that can like back me up, so I want to say that I'm crazy, you know, because it is crazy.
We're all crazy.
But I was sitting outside and I had been really trying to connect with like the animal world and like seeing animal spirits and seeing like fairies, and I was doing a bunch of work. I just saw a fairy like last week. Like things came so hot and heavy. Like it was overwhelming but so exciting. And I was sitting out there and I saw this cat. I'm sitting and there's like a fence like straight dead ahead of me going that way. Yeah. And I see a cat run from one side of the fence, hop over the fence and run into the bush. And it's like the time of day when sun's basically gone, but there's still a bit of light. So you can still kind of see, but not really well. Yeah. And so I can see this thing sitting in the bush and I'm like, shit, that was a cat. Like, okay, that was a cat. I was like, whose cat is this? Like, it's like, it was kind of a white, gray sort of cat. So I'm wandering over there, and every step I'm taking, I can hear, like, something's moving. I was like, there's a freaking cat. Like, what is happening? And every step I took closer, it would make a noise. Yeah. And then I would stop. Nothing, you know? And then I finally called Brian out. I'm like, there's a cat out here. Like, let's, like, take a look at it. We lived, like, way up in the woods, so we didn't come across cats.
Yeah, it wasn't like, in my neighborhood, there's cats literally always.
Yeah, this was just, like... we lived way up in the mountain there. Yeah. And there was only our cat, and this was definitely not our cat. And Brian came out with a flashlight, and I'm looking at it, right? He turns the flashlight, and as the light goes on it, it turns into a plastic bag. And I sound insane, but it was a plastic bag.
Yeah.
And that was not there before because I had been staring at the whole thing. And I learned, like, you know, the animal spirits, like, and, you know, fairies and things like that will turn into, like, inanimate objects when you eventually see them.
Yeah.
And even now, like, I feel so crazy telling the story because it's like, okay, it was a bag. But bags don't move like that.
No. You're like, okay, sure. If it, like, went along a certain path or whatever and then into the bush, you'd be like, wow, that jumped into the bush really weird. But you're like, no, a cat just, like...
went over the fence and in, like... And it was just a plastic bag. And I remember just, like, even now, like, my brain still... It's so weird that it can't make sense of it, but somehow somebody...
I like having those moments, and when I, like, call somebody in and then something, like, shifts, I'm like... oh, I'm an idiot, it wasn't for you, it was for me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I brought you in to look at it, to, like, prove to myself that it's there almost, that's when it was like, nope.
Ah, true. Yeah, because I had to bring Brian in.
You brought Brian, and you're just, like, trusting yourself, and then he, like, shines a light on it, and you're like...
He's like, it's a plastic bag. I'm like, but it was not.
No.
Like, 100%. Plastic bags don't move like that.
Oh, God.
But yeah. That was weird, and I still don't have, and when I've told other people that are, like, really into that kind of stuff, they're like, oh, yeah, like, that, you know, a snake, and then it's a garden hose. Like,
yeah.
Those things do happen to people, but, yeah, that blew my mind. I was like, oh, okay. And it just, everything was happening all at once there.
Yeah.
It was wild, but, yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely haven't heard that story, which is funny, because, like, I've heard so many stories from you. And it's just, like, never got to hear about the cat bag.
It was like a Safeway bag. I was so disappointed, too. Like, I was so out of it. I felt like I was tripping out, too. And that even happened when I saw the fairy, too. Like, that was, like, a moment of, like, you're standing, you're like, I can't be seeing this. And then as you say that, or as you feel that, it morphs back in. Like, it was a snowflake again. I was like, but that wasn't a snowflake.
I know. Or it's like, I'll see something out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, automatically your brain goes, I know what I see out of the corner of my eye, but I know it's a leaf falling. Yeah. Or something. Right. And then you look and it's like, of course it's a leaf falling. Yeah. But you're like, it wasn't just falling. It was moving weird and there's no wind. And it's like...
No, I know that stuff and I don't even know why. Like, what that whole period of my life was just... I don't know. It's like magic awakening. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, and part of it too is like, it's been proven that... your brain makes up like half of the things you see, like more than half of the things you see, because out of a automatic, like trying to keep your brain functioning properly so that you can use it for other things and survive. So automatically, if we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to see this, you're going to see that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just really...
It is really wild. And you can only see what filters you have on, too. Like, you can only see at the capacity that you're willing to see or that, like, you want to see. Like my son, he sees, he points, he sees things very...
Yes, he does.
very, very clear. He'll point to the corner and say daddy a lot, and Brian's not home, and I don't know who... I feel like it's somebody that's related to Brian, possibly, and then he just doesn't know any other way, but besides saying daddy, but...
wouldn't it be so cool if later Brian was like doing a meditation and like wanted to tap in because he missed like little baby Donovan and so he like tapped in and then he just like looked at him and was like, Dad, and he was like, what the shit? And like 40 years from now or something, he's just like, what the hell, Donovan?
It could have been. No, but seriously, it's a possibility that it's just like Brian's energy body that like, maybe there's something like maybe
he's just thinking about him at that moment or something.
I don't know, because I'm totally open to that concept, but it is. I have my levels, like we've talked about so many times. Of what I want to see. I can see something in the day, sure. The lights get too low. Don't show me anything. I don't want to see anything.
It's even. So, at night, in the middle of the night, even if it is a loving caress on my leg, when it is the middle of the night and I just had a nightmare,
don't be doing that.
Don't touch me.
No. Don't
like,
be doing that.
I know the difference between, like, I'm wide awake right now.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking out because of a really very lifelike type situation, nightmare.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this loving caress down my leg. Like, it's okay.
I get it, but no.
No.
Don't be doing that. No, I don't like it when they touch me at all. Sometimes somebody rubs the top of my head, and I actually don't mind that one. Because it's not in scary moments, it's more in good moments sometimes. I'll feel somebody, like...
Yeah.
Fixing my hair or something. I don't know what they're...
And you're like, do I need a haircut?
That's
like,
the only way I can describe it. It's like somebody just, like, going like this to me. And not when I don't mind... But yeah, exactly. Like, we have our levels that we're willing to go to. And I don't even really want to see, like, people. I'm okay with seeing an animal, maybe. I don't know if I want to see what Donovan's seeing in the corner. I don't know.
I go back and forth because part of me wants to see it.
I know.
Really bad.
I do, but then I'm so scared. Like, what if it was all the time? Or, like...
Well,
or if it's somebody I don't want to see.
To be fair, I think we're raised on shows like, The Ghost Whisperer.
I know, yeah.
And it's like, I even tried to rewatch that show now.
I can't do those things anymore.
Don't do that. No, especially now that I'm actually tapped into things. I was like, that was a bad idea.
No, I can't watch even hardly scary movies anymore.
Oh, I don't watch any scary movies. I was thinking, like, that would be kind of a cool show to watch now that I, like, have all these friends and all these experiences and stuff. And I'm just like, no.
No, this shit's too close to what I know
Too close to home.
Yeah, no. I hear you. I can't watch a lot of those shows anymore because they just get in there somehow now.
Like, when it came to before, like, scary movies, I hated watching, like, psychological thrillers because my brain could totally see those as being realistic. Now it's even, like, all of the ghost movies and the alien movies. Never watching alien horror.
Really?
Oh, no.
Oh, that's not scary at all.
They freak me the fuck out because there is nothing you can do against them. There's nothing.
Fair.
Like, a ghost.
Zombies scare me a bit.
But ghosts, I can at least call in backup.
Yeah.
I can get support and help. I have experience with that. But a fucking alien?
Aliens don't scare me at all. They're like, what the hell? Brian's so terrified of it too. We have this conversation all the time. He's like, what if we're overtaken? Or like, oh, he's really scared of like Terminator happening too. Or like, that kind of stuff. Or like, no. I don't know.
See, I think I'm almost more okay with the Terminator because like, whatever, like we'll fight back.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. There's, I don't know, those like sonic bombs that will just wipe out all technology and we'll go back to the good old days of like having no technology. As I'm saying this for a podcast. It'd be kind of nice.
Even be here?
No, it'd be great. But then, I don't know, aliens is a whole other level because it's like...
So interesting.
They can just do whatever they want to you at any time.
Yeah, I guess.
And like wipe part of your memory over it.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing you can do to fight back. Because like if they come and abduct you and you're in a spaceship, what are you gonna do? How do you fight back?
It's cool though. It excites me. I don't know.
Have you seen the movie Fire in the Sky?
No.
Oh, okay. That is where I watched that one when I was very young. And it's based on a true story.
I kind of want to watch it now. But no.
Do it.
Okay.
Totally do it.
Brian probably
really good movie. Like, super old. Yeah. I like old movies, but it was old even then.
See, I'm wondering, does it make noise? Does it do? Okay, there's like a space movie where they communicate with a spaceship, then they like keys to talk to it. Okay.
No, this one's totally based on a true story. And it was
Fire in the Sky?
Yeah, and it was about a logger guy, and he got abducted.
Yeah.
And he was abducted around his friends and stuff, and his coworkers, and so then they went back and nobody believed them. They thought that they killed him. And then he comes back and he starts having memories about like being up there, and so then they show some of the scenes of like when he's up in the spaceship. And it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, especially when you see things too young that you can't, like, I don't know. The Sixth Sense scared the shit out of me, but that's a side story.
I was fine with that one.
That one scared me so bad I couldn't watch, like, scary movies for years.
No, I'm still freaked out of the fire. And I tried to rewatch it, and then I started, and I was like, I can't do this.
Oh, that's so interesting. I don't know, maybe aliens, like, my mom always told me that as a child she had an encounter with an alien spaceship in her bedroom.
Yeah.
She's told me that so many times, and my grandpa's always talked about it too. So maybe they just never...
It's like they didn't have fear towards it, whereas like...
No, it was exciting. There was a time in the 70s where we were all about like...
Right.
Like spaceships, and it was like...
Wouldn't this be so cool? And
Yeah,
okay.
and a bright light in the bedroom. And, like, my mom floated around on her bed, and it was just so exciting. And then they just dropped her back down. And...
Yeah, see, that sounds lovely.
She said it was amazing. Everything floated, the whole room floated, and then they just...
That sounds great. Yeah. What I saw in the movie...
That's what formed me. So,
yes, we have two totally different...
Go.
Yeah.
Totally
you have this, like, fun, like, alien thing, and I have this, like... experimental torture reality.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay, so we figured it out. There's just two different realities. Yeah. That's so fascinating. I like that.
You have to watch that movie, though. It was
I'm really
so
interested.
good.
Brian will really like it, too. He loves aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like...
He may not love them as much after, but, like...
Oh, no, you might be interested.
It was, like, such an intense movie. And that would have been... Oh, God. I would have been so young watching that.
Saw it, yeah. I think that's, too. Like, he saw Chucky when he was, like...
Chucky is hilarious.
Right. But if you saw it when you were like 5, I think he was like 5 or 4 when his sister showed it to him.
Yeah, I would have been like
still in
early teens. Yeah. And it was just hilarious.
Yeah. Me too.
I love watching them now because it just like, they have little fight scenes
where
it's just little people in costumes fighting.
Yeah.
Like, this is so good.
Yeah, I just remember he's told me that. It's like the one movie that scared the living.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for The Sixth Sense. I don't know why. That one really scared me. The point underneath the bed where she's like the rat poison girl.
Oh.
Underneath the bed. And maybe that part is still seared into my brain. Probably the most.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many movies back then where it was just...
I really liked like Grudge and like Ring. I thought all those were cool, but now I can't. So many things I can't watch because it sits in some... I don't know. Because there's just like this portal I have open now.
It's things that could actually happen.
Yeah.
Where you're like, if I could imagine that happening in my day-to-day, then that's going to freak me out way more.
And it doesn't have to be a serial killer. Like, because now that I know that ghosts are real, and
Yeah.
that like spirits and demons and those things are real, it's all open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all possible now.
Yeah. So it just limited the amount of movies I can watch.
Exactly.
Because I'm like, that's a...
I just don't watch movies.
Yeah.
Unless it's like the same one I've seen like...
Or it bothers me when I'm watching one and then they reference the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're getting that information wrong. I'm like, this is pissing me off right now. I'm like, you're wrong. You just ruined the whole movie for me. Where it's like, oh, you do this to like... And I'm like, that would do shit all. Like, no. That wouldn't work.
No, I can see that.
Oh, jeez. All right. So then what was like... Back to that. So what's...
What we were on.
I don't even know. So what's something you still find challenging in your spirituality?
Oh my God. Okay, so right now, I've talked about it a million times on my podcast, but like I'm really into the program. I'm really into like your setup, like what your brain tends to go to and why, because of the people that you were surrounded in.
Yep.
So I am because I'm at this point where I'm so hyper aware, and not even at the level that I want to be, but because it's going to get even more intense here, but of what's programmed and what's not, I have a really hard time where I still let my brain run the show when like I know better. And then it's like days of suffering, and when you get so far into it, it's that much harder to pull you out. So I say like the hardest, and it's me just being hard on myself too, because this is the journey. You go in, you go out, you go in, you go out. You're not just perfect all the time, but I still let a lot of my program turn me into a victim, and also turn me into just being brutally hard on myself.
Yeah.
Like brutally hard, and expecting myself to be this standard that like isn't even possible.
Yeah.
I would say that's the hardest. I don't even know if that's like, I guess that's spiritual, because to me the spiritual journey is like
your life.
yeah and the work and like being in it. You know, you're not just on the sidelines enjoying football and cheeseburgers. Not that football's bad, but just like...
Cheeseburgers are fucking great.
Yeah, that too. Like, completely asleep to like the fact that we're here for a purpose. Like, all that to me, being awake is like the spiritual journey, and with that comes the self-work. But
doing that like 9 to 5 business job and just like get it out and I'm so far from that, but then I'm so far in it too. That, I think for me, thinking too, I get caught up in thinking that I have to keep working, and this is hard, and like this is it, and there's always so much work to do on myself when there really isn't. Like there's so much that you just could just let go. Like it doesn't even have to be work. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be drudging. That's it. I said like 10 things there that are hard for me, but that's where I get stuck and lost the most on this journey is in not believing in myself and like hard on myself, but also just in thinking that I have so much work to do on myself. And because fair enough, for years, that's where I've been. I actually needed to be there. I needed to be in this space where I worked so hard on myself. But for the last, like, I don't know, even like just couple of months, it's been, Leesa, you've done as much as you need to do right now. Step into it now. Yeah.
You've built what you needed to build. Step the fuck into it now. And I'm still like, but I need to be this person that I've always been, and I can't graduate into this empowered, powerful, you know, abundant, stable person because that's not me. And then it's like, but it is, and it's who I was always supposed to be.
Yes.
I just, so I get stuck in like, I need to be.
It's like literally sitting there and building a website on the back end.
Yeah.
And being like, well, the pictures aren't perfect. The wording's not perfect. This isn't perfect. I can't launch it.
Yeah.
And you sitting with it for like an entire year.
Basically.
And it's like, just hit the fucking launch button and deal with the repercussions later.
Totally. No, and like, that's where I've been with myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'll push out anything super fast. But on myself, it's like I just like had such a good visualization the other day. It's like, it's time for me to take off the hiking boots and the worn-in backpack that I've just been wearing for so long. Like, I'm here. I can stretch again. Like, I can get my feet in some slippers. I can breathe because I did a lot of that work that needed to be done. And it's not over, but I did a big chunk. I can take a rest now. So
and just embrace it for a little while.
That's where I've been having. Well, I think I'm there. I think I am finally.
Yeah, and then it's like when some work does come up, because there will be more work, it's not like beating yourself up and automatically going into that brain thing of like, oh, see, I knew I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, this is a different aspect of it. It's just a part of the growth.
Yeah.
You just had to trim back a little something.
There's just so many angles. It's like, I think of us as like, it's like a disco ball in every single situation, all your trauma. There's so many, you know, disco ball has like million different like mirrors. Yeah. That's what we have to do. And we keep coming back to like all our different disco balls, but it's
the little reflection points.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
just still it's a totally different side of it.
Yes.
Totally different angle, but it's still the same disco ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we first met, I double checked because I was curious. It would have been like spring, summer of 2021.
Really?
Yes.
Yes. It's only been 2 years.
How's
that even possible?
I know. I know. So it literally was like when you were...
That was when I was doing my first circles?
Yes. So it would have been because she opened up in the fall of 2019. And then I don't think it was...
there?
No, and then the first year...
No, see, I came in the... I came to her in the fall, but we had to get to know... Yeah. And then that makes sense. Wow.
And so then it would have been, 2021, like spring, summer kind of thing.
That was way long.
Me too. I know, I was expecting it to be like 2018, but it was
so
like...
So long, that's crazy. Okay.
But it's been,
It's only been 2 years. Yeah.
Like 2.5, which is crazy because of how much has happened in that amount of time. Is like
completely
that...
Completely. Completely.
And it's like...
Yeah.
It's when I believe in those like time... things shifts where it's like, okay, how how have we done so much in such a small amount of time?
I think that's why it feels so long, is because, like, we've done 20 years worth of stuff in, like, 2 years. Yeah.
And
You've changed more in the last 2 years than you have in, like, your entire life.
Holy
Basically.
Yeah.
That's crazy, yeah.
So it's just
that makes sense. Okay, so spring of 2021.
Yeah. Okay. It would have been, like, around there, so you were doing, like, your new moon and your full moon rituals. And that was, like, when I first met you, was one of those. And the card readings and everything at the Paper Birch. So at that time, you also started the podcast.
Yeah, did I?
Around there.
Yeah, I think in the fall, actually. Because Circle started to slow down a bit, and Jan and I were like, we need to do something. So 2021, wow.
So right now you have, like, I think it was around 40 episodes of the podcast.
Yeah.
And so, what actually made you start it?
I think it was something that I'd been thinking about for years, but again, there was, like, a whole self-worth thing there. There was a whole, like, needing to be at a level where I actually had something to say that people would value. And honestly, I can't even tell you. A lot of the things that I do have nothing to do with thought. They're all... Mira says this about me all the time. She's like, she's never met anybody that, like, has no idea what they're doing, but knows because of their intuition. Like, she says that all the time with me, is like, I'll be like, I'll pick a number for something. I'll pick, like, and then that just happens to be the number that, like, corresponds with that season, that means this, that means, when I picked her birthday and it just happened to be the first, like, that is how I run, and a lot of it is just complete impulse and intuition, and then I just act. Yeah. And somehow, there's not a lot of thought. There's not a lot of, like, planning. There's not a lot of, it's just not even reaction. It's just, action and intuition.
You're just like, okay, go.
Now. Yeah. It just comes online and it's like, oh.
And I loved, because you and Janet were doing the co-host at the very beginning and stuff. I loved that. And it was like, again, that's been so much change. Yeah. Because it's like, even then you guys were doing it together. Mm-hmm. Both of your lives have changed so much since then. And like, and you've had a baby since then and everything. And it was like, so I love that even you include, like, a lot of your spirituality and stuff like that in there, as well as, like, you're super open about parenting and all of that. So then, what's been one of your favorite episodes to record so far?
Oh, that's such a good question. It feels so far away with Janet again, but I know that I had, like, quite a few that we did together that, like, were just so fun. But I think that I really, one of my favorite episodes, it's so hard. That is a really hard question for me, actually, just because, like, I think I loved one and then I do something else and I'm like, oh, I really liked how that felt. Yeah. Like, I'm just such a different person almost every single day. It's like a death and rebirth. Yeah. Every day. So I feel like who I am, even when I recorded my last one, is so different from who I am now. But I've been in an entire season of just, like, pure, utter death. Yeah. And so my capacity to record hasn't been there. But what I was starting to do with the podcast felt more me than ever. When I was starting to record just me talking. Yes. It's like one long voice memo from me. Yeah. And that's me. So it felt so authentic. And I know that even just in me recording one long voice memo, that I'm going to have a lot that I'm going to share that's going to guide, even though I'm not trying to be the guide. Like, with Janet, when I first started, we were teachers.
Yes, and you guys were kind of going over some topics and stuff, like
we'd
your
have
chakras,
a topic and then we'd talk about it and we taught.
Yeah.
And fair enough, like, I know that's in me and I am, like, a teacher, but I can also just teach by just sharing what I'm experiencing.
Your experience,
Yeah, so I feel like that's the shift that I've liked the most. Not that anything was wrong with that, because I still want to do that sometimes. It's just cool. Yeah. It doesn't feel as good as it does just to be me and have things that I teach. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of, instead of just you having a subject and studying it, you're just like, okay, so this came up this week. Yeah. And it was hard.
And that feels really good to talk. Like, at least that's how it feels for me. Because I was thinking about that on the way here too. I was like, I'm not somebody like, I love that like people can come up with ideas for a podcast and then sit down a week later and record it. I can't do that. For me,
I'm like
passion.
Inspiration and passion, and I'm like, and go.
And go.
Like,
sometimes it comes to me, and it happens a lot now as a mom, and sure, it's partly an excuse, but I'll get this moment of pure and utter inspiration, and it's like, but because I can't record right in this moment, if I tried to say I'm going to come back to it on Sunday, I won't be there. No. Like, I can't
It'll
say
be completely different.
It'll be a totally different topic because I'll be somebody else then.
Yes.
Like, I won't even be the same version of myself that I was. There's so many parts. So
yeah,
I find that the hardest is I'll have this idea and I'll be like, oh, I need to talk about this. I need to talk about this on the podcast. Yes. And then it escapes, and then I'm like, oh, damn. So yeah, I don't know how you get over that.
Yeah.
Record voice memos.
Yeah.
And then turn them into a podcast.
And part of it too will be like when Donovan's a little bit older. Yeah. So you can be like, honey, I love you. Mama's got a spark. Yeah. I'm going to jump in the other room for 10 seconds. Just knock on the door if you need me.
Yeah. No, that space.
Yes.
The space. I don't have that right now. But I mean, if it was a priority, I could make it. Like, there's weekends, there's days, but...
Of course, but it's like anything with the business. I need to have these things done by this date.
Yeah.
But I always try and give myself extra time for things because you get that spark of inspiration where you're like, if you want to sit and redo this thing that does not need to be done, or like work on a spreadsheet or work on this, it's like, I love spreadsheets. I'm a weirdo. I love a good Excel sheet. So it's like, if I get the spark of inspiration and I just want to work on that for a day, I don't beat myself up about it.
No, I know. And you gotta do that. And even as in our human design, that's how we're supposed to function. Yeah. We're not supposed to push ourselves to do things that just drain. Yeah. Like, it's supposed to be where your energy goes. Like, that's... Yeah. No, and I feel that. So, yeah, I don't know. I will hop back on it. It's been the season that I'm in, for sure, though.
Oh, it's guaranteed. And you've still been getting episodes out and stuff, though.
Like, once in a while. Yeah. I'm also not consistent, but I've started to let that go. See, that was the other thing with the other podcast. It was way more regimented about, has to come out once a week on Mondays. Yes. Now I'm like, I'm just going to upload whenever the hell I want. Yeah. And that, to me, is freeing. Like, I... love consistency when I'm consuming content, and I love that, but then I have to honor who I am and part of the season I'm in. Yes. And my season is just whenever the hell I can get around to it.
And it's so great because then randomly I'll be like, oh, there's a new episode. And I get a little extra excited instead of being like, oh, every Monday this comes out. Yeah. And so it's just like, ooh.
It works for my my listeners. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it's just great.
I will. It's such a priority to me because it's very fulfilling and it's very self-soothing. Like, it's just everything. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's enjoyable.
It is.
So on the podcast, we've talked about you're really open about your parenting and all of that. So one of the things that you've talked a bit about would be your birthing story. Yeah. Are you okay talking about that a bit today? Yeah. Because honestly, it was super inspiring, and you did something that I hadn't even heard of, and I've been on this journey for a while, but I hadn't even thought of it as an option for women, and most women even that have given birth haven't experienced what you went through. Yeah. And you did a free birthing journey for your first pregnancy.
Yeah, I know that apparently doesn't happen either. I don't know.
Explain what it is first to people, because it's not a term that I find in anything almost.
No, in any literature, that's for sure. I only know because there's a community online. Yeah. But basically, I did a wild pregnancy as well, which means you're completely removed from the system in the way that you don't do the generic tests, you don't get, ultrasounds, you don't see a doctor regularly. I didn't get prenatal care, I didn't get my cervix looked at, I don't know why it looks so disgusting when I say that, but just nobody touched me. Yeah. I did all my own prenatal care.
It wasn't the weekly blood work.
No, nothing. Nothing. And so then... and then I free birthed, which means I was at home with my husband, and I actually did have somebody there that was there for like emotional support and just to talk me off the cliff and serve me as well, like bring me food, bring me a bowl to pee in, and
Yep.
And that was it. So I had no medical professionals present, and I just he came out in our bedroom.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's free birth. Like that's you do it on your own.
And you just made it sound so simple. He just came out.
Yeah, no, it was 3 days, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life.
So like, how many hours of labor was it again? Because it was.
I think it was what did I calculate? Shoot, 57 hours.
Yeah, it was something
like
insane.
That? Yeah, because a lot of the times that we don't consider with real not real, but like physiological labor, which means 100% natural. Like there's there's nothing that pushed labor to start. There's no medicine. It's completely and utterly natural. Every single thing. It's normal to see it start and stop.
Yep.
So there were periods that it's hard to like discount, like, okay, it stopped for 2 hours there or 45 minutes there. Like, you could take that into account. It might be a little less, but
it's still a part of labor.
3 days.
Yeah.
It was basically 3 days of
I figure from like the first sign of it starting
basically
to the end.
Till when he came out, yeah.
Well, even you have like your afterbirth and stuff you have to deal with, so I would include that because that's a whole other thing that most women don't talk about.
It is in your uterus too. This is a part that I need to remind myself of again, because this took me but the whole entire week after you breastfeed, you get the same freaking contractions, and I remember being like, this isn't fair.
Yeah,
I did it.
Yeah.
I was done.
You're done with this.
I remember sobbing over that and being like, this part is just cruel. So every time you would breastfeed, you're sure they weren't quite as intense, but you were so sensitive that it was it was worse than any period cramp you could experience. It was definitely, and it was just your uterus shrinking down again. And it's all designed and beautiful, but
it's so painful.
But it was so unfair. I was like, you're gonna do this after I just spent, that pissed me off, and I didn't know that was gonna come. But that's something I like want to tell everybody that, because it like blew me away that it's not even over. For another week, you're gonna feel the same contractions going every time, and you have to breastfeed like constantly
all the time.
Yeah, you're just there constantly. So and I mean, postpartum, like, I had this amazing, inspiring, crazy birth, but it also just tore every single piece of me like apart, sort of.
Yeah.
And then you're thrown into this whole world and it's so fucked. Like, having a newborn is just, it's so hard to even put into words how insane it is, and how, like, emotional it is, and how many things it brings up inside of you. And I don't know if everybody experiences this, but I really think we do. We just don't talk about it. But
push it aside because we're told that, well, you had the baby, now you're fine.
Yeah, and you need to enjoy this, and they're not going to be this small forever, and there's just immediately this pressure.
Bypassing.
Yes. And I can safely say one thing. I did not bypass a single thing, even though I wish I did. Because doing that, like that postpartum, if I had to do that again, like that, no, not in a million years, because it was so rough for me and so emotional, and it took me a very long time. And even though I had this amazing birth that I look forward to, bringing me the closeness and like the connection to my child, so much disconnection. I remember I didn't even like feel anything for him for a long time. Like, I did.
Yeah.
And there were moments, but in general, no. It took till like 6 weeks for me to be like, oh. He like followed me around the room or something. Like his eyes kind of went like this and like looked. I was like, oh my God, there's something in there.
Yeah.
And then I slowly started forming connection, but it took a while. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like in all of these movies we see, like, as soon as a mom sees her birth, oh God, it's like this bliss and this amazing.
You got
and
this expectation of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm appreciative that people are becoming more aware of postpartum.
Yeah.
Because it ruins people, and all women see, like, and it wasn't talked about before. So it's like you see this amazing picturesque situation.
What you think it's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah, and then you beat yourself up for not feeling that. Yeah. And it's
100%.
like, it's brutal to watch so many people going through it and not talking about it.
No. And I mean, we can say that like a lot of mine was like a nutrient deficit. Like there's things that would have supported me.
Well, and your hormones are so fucking crazy around then.
Crazy.
So crazy. From the start of pregnancy until, like, literally from the moment. The moment
I know.
the seed, like, implants, your body goes into a totally different fucking person.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I just read, like, your two main hormones that you live your whole life having is like estrogen and progesterone. Like we balance those, and as soon as you're pregnant, and especially postpartum, they're gone actually, and it's just this whole this whole massive change, and the oxytocin strikes, and you're not used to them much, and I don't know, I don't know fully the psychology about what I experienced, but I guess you could call it postpartum depression. But what I think postpartum depression, a lot of it is just the death. Like it's the entire death of like sacrifice and selfishness that leaves you, and the amount of dedication and just again selflessness that you have to have suddenly is just. That's the depression. It's like you're dying. That's what it is.
And I think one part is I like part of the term of the postpartum depression because it gives a medical term so women can get help. Yeah. What I don't like is that they're like, some women have this. And so then you feel bad about yourself.
When you do have it, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like all women have it. It's a hormonal situation that's happening. Yeah. And just a life thing that's happening.
And it's spiritual too. Like we don't.
Oh my God. You literally just like, Like, you are a portal. You literally just created a being.
And now it's out.
And it's like, and that separation where you guys were a part of each other, but separate, and it's a whole thing.
It is so beyond even the physical too. Like that whole, the spiritual and energetics of it as well.
And we almost have like expectations we put on ourselves in those situations. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I'm going to be like this, and this. Or like I had friends that were like, I was never going to let my kid watch TV all the time. They were not going to have junk food. And now I'm like, I need 2 hours to myself. Yeah. Otherwise I'm going to lose my shit. Here's the TV with a movie on and some damn popcorn. Leave me alone. Yeah. And it's like...
You have expectations of who you're going to be in.
100%.
No, and a lot of motherhood is just survival. So, I get it. But, I also just found out recently, though, I should add this in because this is another piece, is Donovan's transition into Earth wasn't easy. And I didn't always understand that. Thought my transition was the only one that mattered, of like me dying and becoming the mother, because we're focused on us.
Oh, yeah.
It's the way it's meant to be in so many ways. But I just found out in his astrology that the first 18 months of his life he's actually depressed. He actually suffered like a lot of depression and hard time coming into this world, and
so that would have even been your guys' disconnect.
Exactly.
Where you connected in like, oh, there is someone in there, and especially someone who is so intuitive, he would have kept, because there is a certain amount of time that babies do in the spiritual realm kind of separate and come back and separate and come back, whether they're in the womb or outside for the first while. For sure.
Yeah, and it makes me understand that it wasn't just my hard time as well. Like, he was going through the hard time as well, and it's definitely given me perspective to understand that, but also just to be nicer to myself. Like, it wasn't all my fault, all the struggles we had, because I always want to make everything my fault, like, I must be doing something, or but the one thing I will say is, the one thing that I am so proud of myself in my motherhood journey is, like, even my 3-day birth. Like, I didn't come here to repeat patterns. I came here to completely shatter and like erase things from our lineage. And in my family, there's a very long history of traumatic births and like leading to cesareans and needing those things. So when I was in labor for 3 days, I sat for so long thinking like, oh, like, again, that was my fault. I had too much resistance, until I realized that it wasn't just my resistance I had to work through. I had to work through my mom's resistance. I had to work through my sisters. I had to work through my grandma's. I was going so
Let alone
far
any
back.
past life shit that
All
you had
of that.
too. Yeah,
all
100%.
of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. It was
Right,
me
this
breaking
moment. Yeah.
down. And then even when I had to go into breastfeeding, I had to break through what my mom went through and my grandma went through. And I had to, so every step that I've gotten into motherhood, sleep. I had to decide not to abandon my child. I had to decide to show up every single moment he's ever needed me in this first 18 months. I've never not been there. And that, it's going to make me emotional, because that, to me, like, that undoes so much.
Yeah.
For my, oh man.
I have tissue. I
do. That's just a really big trauma for me.
Of course.
And why I couldn't do what was done to me. And so I don't even know where I was going with that, but just, I guess that's the level. That's why I call myself a badass mother, because my commitment to that and the mother, not just me, but the mother, as an archetype, is so important for me and my like lineage and just our future. So it's a journey though. It's been it's not easy.
No.
And I as projectors too, I think it's fucking way harder, because it is. I gotta say, we got it a little harder because we don't have the same energy, and you get a manifesting generator child and they're just nonstop. There's just a different set of challenges, I guess. That's all that come with it.
Yeah. And it's honoring the fact that you are willing to put yourself into uncomfortable situations to be there for him where you felt like you couldn't always have that as a kid. Totally. And it's not easy. There's no part about sleep that showing up every single night, like there's been no part of that that's like, that I'm like, I was in a good place with it. Not even slightly. I've raged, I've screamed, I've gone psycho, I've thought I was gonna die. Like, I thought, oh, it would be better if I died. Like, you reach all those points of sleep deprivation, but it's never, I'm stubborn that way too. Like, if I decide, and it's not stubborn, whatever, well, perseverance, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm like, I decided to do this, I'm gonna do it. I don't give up.
Yep.
Is what I guess I was trying to say. So yeah, that journey's not even over. We still don't sleep. And it's normal. I gotta say that. There's nobody out there that'll be like, it's normal, but it is. It's normal for babies and toddlers not to find a rhythm till they're 3. We just get taught that they're supposed to.
And then literally they will start to find a rhythm and you're like, oh my God, I see a little bit of glimmer of hope.
2-3
then,
days.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, and reset.
And another
like,
2. And I have a tummy ache. Or stuff. No, I don't know. It's just, it's never. But yeah, that's the hardest journey for us. I feel like so many of my problems would have been way less if I was sleeping too. Like, so many of the issues, because it's just a form of torture, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not sleeping is literally torture.
Yeah.
So that's...
And it's like, you need to not sleep, be tortured every single night, and then show up as this, like, mother goddess every day with your hair flowing and just 100%. Perfect. Like, I love perfectly every moment.
Regulated nervous system.
100%, of course.
But that's something that I've been honoring in myself, is that why the work I'm doing is so important is just because it's not just mine.
Yeah.
It's everybody ahead of me. And I'm changing an entire cycle that has been going on for who knows how long. So that's why it wasn't easy. Yeah. It wasn't just me that made it hard or that had a hard time. It's because it was that hard to break that. So, yeah.
And as soon as you break one part, you'll find another edge.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I'm still so... My baby's only 18 months old. Like, I'm still at the very beginning of it, but how much has changed in 18 months in that way is just... And they get cooler. Like, they really do. Yeah. I just, like...
I love seeing their personalities start coming out, and it's just great.
And they start talking, and they just get cuter or something. Like, I'm being honest of how I felt. Like, the baby's phase was hard. There's nothing there. You're just a caretaker. It's different than being a mother.
Yeah.
When you're mothering and you're teaching them things and you're like, now he's really into brushing his teeth, and, you know, he's taking the stool, and it's like, this stuff it blows your mind, and you're like, this was a potato.
So, yeah. So, like, even as an example, when I first was talking to my husband about us having kids, he's like, oh, yeah, it would be really cool to, like, take them to hockey games and do all this. I'm like,
men are always there.
Honey,
Yeah.
I was like, no. I'm talking about having a baby.
A baby.
Not a teenager. Not a 10-year-old. I'm talking about, like, a baby.
You know they start.
It's going to be a really long time before we hit that point.
I'm glad you're excited about that.
That's great. But, like, I'm saying, are you ready for the sleepless nights?
Yeah,
are you ready for the screaming? Are you ready for the, like, nonstop laundry? And, like, all of those little things.
Like, you could never really stop anymore.
Yeah.
Or have any moment that is yours.
Yeah.
And they're awake, sometimes I think about my shift. I'm like, okay, first of all, it never ends.
Yeah.
But then it starts at 6 a.m. and it doesn't end till 8 p.m. and then I'm still not off at night.
No.
It's just, I don't know. Yeah, and then,
And imagine, like, all those people that still, to this day, think that mothering isn't a job, a full-time job. It's like,
and now I get it more. Like, I maybe didn't
100%.
get it from before. Yeah.
But it's like, I want them to try for one day.
I know, and even that happens with Brian all the time. He'll try for, like, a couple hours and be like, I don't know how you do this. It's like, it gets easier when you do it all the time.
Well, and there's
and
certain
you're
things.
The mom?
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
We do get it a little, but we also get sometimes bigger emotions, and we also get sick of each other. Like, Donovan and I will have moments where I need to be away from him and he needs to be away from me too. So.
And, like, as being around that being all the time, you learn certain cues.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, if I don't get him this, then we're gonna have a problem.
Or if I don't give Donovan a cracker in each hand, like he needs one in each.
Aww.
Then we have a problem. Sometimes I just break a cookie. Like if I only give him one, it's a problem. You know, it has to be two. And I love honoring those things.
Yeah.
I love fostering.
You're like, why am I gonna put up a fight about? It takes me 2 seconds. Just crack it in half.
And he's happy. And there's not a lot of things that he's very. Yeah, he likes to clean up too. That's coming out right now, and I never really taught him that.
That's awesome.
That's just in him. Things need to go back exactly. I think he gets it from his dad. It makes a lot of sense. Brian's pretty crazy like that too. He likes things tidy and things belong in certain places. I'm a bit explosive, so that really amazes me. He needs if a door's open, it's like no, but that's supposed to be closed. That's closed.
That's awesome.
I know, it's amazing. It really is. Incredible, and I don't mean to shit on the motherhood, but it's just...
It's not you shitting on it, though. 50. It's like sharing and honoring your experience.
Maybe it's only like 30%, especially that first year. Like, it's really moments and glimpses of something that they laugh, and suddenly you forget the last 4 months of hell.
Yes.
Because they just giggled.
So I can't remember. I feel like... Either I heard it somewhere or it was my mom or something like years and years ago was explaining like having kids is like all day, every day. They treat you like crap. They get on your nerves. You are at your breaking point, literally like screaming at the top of your lungs, and you absolutely hate being around them. And then you put them to bed and they lay down and they're all cute and sweet and you're like, oh, I love you so much.
Totally. And
it's like, it's this crazy roller coaster all the time with them.
Every morning
like,
when I see him, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. And it's an hour in and he's clawing at my legs while I'm trying to make eggs and I'm just like, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Like, back up! What part don't you understand? Like, you just, yeah. I mean, I really do work a lot on myself for like, nervous system regulation and stuff, but
sleep.
You lose your shit. You do. You scream, and sometimes I call him bad. He'll do something, and then it's just my hurt, and I'll be like, you're being bad. And I'm like, why am I saying that? Like, it's weird the things that come out of your mouth too, and it's also programming in your mom that just immediately starts becoming you. But especially when it involves sleep. That's where I lose my That's where we've had our biggest fights is in either in the middle of the night or like a Tuesday afternoon when he wouldn't go down for his nap or something, and you're just like, you don't even understand how much I need to be away from you. And but I like to think and this is the part that the work becomes so cool, is I like to think how he pushes me to that point because he's healing me. Like, he is pushing me to that point so that I can, like, let go of it. And he's showing me, he showed me more wounds within myself than I knew there was lots, sure, but, like, the level that he's brought me is just, like...
Oh, yeah. Like, you literally, you know that you came here to do the hard work in this life. If he had been sleeping through the night like some babies do,
I wouldn't have...
if he had been, like, totally perfect and you had that
chill
perfect...
baby.
Oh, my God. You would be sitting here like, oh, this is so easy. Yeah. But it's like you've learned so much about yourself.
100%. Yeah.
And it was
I've unraveled so many parts of myself as well. So, yeah.
And, like, we had previously talked even, like, when you were first initially pregnant with him, that it was, like, that was a whole other level of a death and dying process.
The first trimester. I haven't officially announced it, but I will announce it. Well, I will. I'm pregnant again. We're doing it again, so it's very exciting. Nobody knows, but I don't care that when this comes out. Maybe it'll be soon. Anyway.
Okay, we should, like, just don't announce it, and then whoever hears the episode will be like, what the fuck? You'll be, like, getting messages.
Yeah, like, sure.
Yeah, we'll test our friends, be like, see, you don't listen to me, do you? You don't listen to my podcast.
When people don't know. Like, well, I guess you didn't get the super hook.
You didn't listen to it.
But what I was going to say is, like, my first time around with Donovan was very similar to postpartum. Like, that's how intense the first trimester was. I cried every single day for, like, 3 months straight. I felt so depressed, so many questions, so much death, so much. It was hard.
Yeah.
And so now I've come here again, and I was like, oh, surely it can't be the same. And then it was. Like, it's been even worse at times, especially in the physical element of being how much more sick, much more tired because I can't honor my needs. But it was way shorter. So it was still there. It still came on, you know, about the time you find out you're pregnant is when the hormones are already, like, ramping up pretty big. So, like, you're 5 weeks, like, for me, that's when it started hitting of, like...
You were so lucky. Mine literally was even... Before. Every single time I knew I was pregnant, 2 weeks even before.
Really?
My hormones got so good at kicking in. That literally, I stopped looking at a calendar because I didn't want to torture myself. But every time it hit the point where it was supposed to be, like, around the time of implantation, I would start getting crazy ass fucking dreams. Every single time.
Interesting.
And I was like... I thought it was a fluke, but obviously I've been, as I guess a bunch of people wouldn't know, I've been pregnant a lot. And it was like, I thought it was just a fluke the first few times, and it was like, no, every single time. Because my body had been through it so many times. So
I was trying to think, maybe it did hit him faster this time. I don't remember.
But it's like, your body knows.
It does. I knew. I will share that eventually one day, but she sent me so many signs she was coming. And I knew it was now, and, like, we opened ourselves up, for reference, it's December, beginning of December right now, but we opened ourselves up in July, and kind of energetically being like, okay, baby girl, you want to come, you're showing me you want to come, and then I was pregnant at the very beginning of October, so.
Hey everyone, I just want to jump in quick here to honor where some people may be at in their journey when it comes to fertility and pregnancy. Coming up, me and Leesa discuss topics around miscarriage and medical intervention. I of all people can understand how these topics can be a little bit triggering sometimes when you're not ready to hear them. I will put a timestamp in the show notes for you to skip past this topic if you feel you're unable to kind of hear this discussion at the moment. And let's head back to our interview with Leesa.
So, but it again, like, the conscious conception journey is when you know they're there, then they come. Like, it's very easy. In that way of, like, getting pregnant when the time is up. Or Well,
it's hard though, because then, like, on the other hand, like, I've had that connection, and I've had the same daughter that I've had so much connection and everything with. And it almost made all of it harder for me.
Having that connection before?
Yeah. Because it was like, I've had for years, like, I have so many intuitive friends, and I've gone to so many card readers and mediums and shamans and all that, and everybody kept being like, okay, as soon as you're ready, she's here. She's ready for you.
Yeah.
Even when I showed up to be ready, it's like, sure, I got pregnant a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And that almost made it harder, because especially in the one where, like, the first ectopic this year, I felt her so strongly there. Like, the strongest I've ever felt her, the biggest connection. She was with me. So then that honestly, like, had me disconnect from my faith a lot after.
That's so fair, though.
Yeah. Because it was like, what the fuck? I've been told for years that, like, we're gonna be together.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we got months, and that was it.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, even when you have that,
like, just experiences.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that, but I can imagine, like, how to be that close, or that. The only thing that I've learned too about spirit babies, just by spending time in that, like, realm, is that there's so many that are never meant to really come. Or they're meant to, like, I've had ones that dip in, and I don't know what they do, but they're not even mine, but they just, like, dip in for a sec to, like, check if this is the right home, or if they want to do it, and then they leave, but they still left an imprint. They still left some healing. They still helped me shed something, like, meaning I've had, like, close calls before where you're like, I feel pregnant. Yeah. And then your period's, like, 6 days late, and then suddenly it just comes, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Like, I've had that a couple times, especially since I met Brian, and maybe it was my, like, daughter or son wanting to come, but it not being the right time. Yeah. But what I was trying to say is, like, their job in so many ways is so beyond anything that us as humans sitting here can conceptualize and understand. Yeah. Like, the work that they have to do with their humans that they're, like, to come with. And not that it makes anything better for what you experience, because it must be so hard, but I always just think there was something. She you know? Yeah. And it's like, it's honoring both paths, because I find it's like, especially in this community, it's like we almost think, like, okay, if I eat right, if I do all of the things, and I meditate, and I get rid of my stress, and I do all of this, like, we believe if we do all of the right things or the quote unquote right things, that it will get, like, and call in your guides and do all this work. Like, it will be an easy process. Yeah. And it's not always that way. And it's like, I can't beat myself up for it not being that way. Where it's like, I had everything telling me it was going to be this amazing process. But it's like, I knew that even before it was officially announced that it was an ectopic pregnancy, I knew it was. Yeah. To the point for even where the doctor was like, I'm so sorry to tell you this. He's like, people go their entire careers without seeing this. Like, it's so uncommon. And I'm sorry to tell you. I'm like, yeah, I knew it was. Yeah. And he's like, how did you know? Like, I knew. I knew. We do know. Oh, of course. I think when you're that in tune with your body, you know. Oh, 100%. I felt his... I was going to go really graphic, but I literally, like, Brian's sperm enter my egg. Like, you can feel that if you're that in tune. But, no, I didn't mean to take away from what you were saying, because, I don't know, you know, in our life experiences and the medicine we're meant to share with others, and, like, I know in my past life with Brian, that was something that happened to us. Yeah. Like, I've experienced, not in this life, but I've felt her. And I felt the part of me that experienced miscarriage after miscarriage, and just not being able to have what we wanted. Yeah. And it's not, I came into this life actually always worried. I can remember being 15 being like, what if I can't get pregnant? What if I can't get pregnant? 18, what if I can't get pregnant?
Yeah.
I used to chronically worry about that forever, and it was because I was carrying what I went through in the past life. So
of course.
It's like it doesn't even make sense, but then somehow one day it will.
Yeah.
That's all we can hope for. Because even when I've just learned with Donovan, and he was supposed to be depressed his first 18 months, it's like, oh, the enlightenment. Like, I get it now. But I didn't know that back then, so it was just senseless suffering. Why the fuck am I going through this? This isn't fair.
Yeah.
I didn't deserve this.
Literally, like, one of the times in the hospital, I was like, was I like Hitler in a past life?
What?
Like, why?
Why are you doing this
I
to
help
me?
people. I do good things. I help community things. I am like, I'm not harming anybody.
Why?
What the fuck?
Because it doesn't make sense when we're in it.
No.
And it's just, it's cruel and it's It
is torture.
I resonate.
Especially
with that
when you're on that spiritual path, because like some people just look at it as like this medical thing, but I'm like, there is no medical reason behind this.
No.
And especially when there's no medical reason behind it, then it's like, it's hard not to go into like blaming myself.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, if I believe that I create these situations in me, there was no medical reason for me to have not just one, but 2 ectopic pregnancies.
Yeah.
When they were like, everything's good for your second, you should be totally fine.
Yeah.
Even though you do go from like, I think it's like a 10% chance to like a 50% chance for your second. Yeah, each time it increases. So it was like... But I was spiritual. I believed that, like, my body-mind connection and all of this. And, like, I believed I could, like, move everything into my uterus. And I just, also not understanding the body, wanted them to be able to just, like, squeeze my tube, like a little toothpaste tube, and just, like, pop it into the uterus and be like, can you just, like... remove that and plop it in there? Can you not do that? And they're like, no.
No, and there's so many deep levels to conception as well, and so many things that are stored within our body that we don't know are there that can, it's just, and it's interesting to me too how much of a rise, like, not just in ectopic, but just in infertility or things like that that people are experiencing. It's like, well, we're gonna learn something here, though. Like, you guys are all lessons or something in what...
I don't know if it's always just a rise or that it's more people are speaking up.
Maybe.
Because it's like, it's something that before even a couple of years ago during, like, my first miscarriages and stuff like that, it still... wasn't talked about.
No, it's definitely talked about more now.
Yeah.
But everybody's getting IU or whatever you...
like
everybody's doing...
IVF.
IVF now. Like, we're having, like... And maybe it's just because it's there. Like, I don't know.
But also what was really cool that I heard on another podcast, I feel like it was the Spirit Baby Radio. She is a medium, intuitive, all that. She talks to spirit babies. She literally, I think, even studied with the guy who wrote the book.
Cool.
And just, she's amazing.
I love that kind of stuff,
And when she was talking about it, I'm pretty sure it was her. If I'm wrong, whatever. Don't quote me. It was that the IVF babies that are coming in don't have the same soul, like it's a fresh soul kind of thing. It doesn't have the same like imprint of that like crap stuck to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so it was like this bright, shiny new, like, okay, like brand new souls.
Cool.
So it didn't,
So maybe it's serving a purpose though. Like it's like
we'll see in like 20 years.
Like, we needed all these fresh souls, or like maybe that's why it's so beyond us. Like maybe 20 years from now it's gonna make sense. But
yes,
it's
exactly.
so hard when you're in it and it hurts and it's not fair. Like it's okay to be there too, because we're supposed to experience what not fair is. Like we're here to experience those things, and they just show up in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm so excited that you're pregnant now again.
Yeah.
Because I was
this is intense too.
Yeah.
Like I know no ideas how many times I've cried, because who's coming in now is who I've waited for like 5 years.
Yeah.
She's who I've known is going to be one of the most important pieces of work, you know, like that ever exists for, like, she's going to carry on what I'm doing. And so already who she is, like, every single day I want to cry, because it's like, she's going to be so me, and she's never going to have to, like, lose that, and she's never going to have to, like,
all of those parts of yourself that you had to close off for survival. She's just pure and strong, and
she's just gonna,
it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But also kind of terrifying.
It is, because she's already made me face so much with my mom that I thought was not a big deal, and she has brought up, oh man, and the dreams I've been having with my mother, and just helping me work through a lot. But God, it's not even, like, it's crazy. Your work with your spirit babies begins long before they come.
Oh my God, yeah.
Long before they come. Yeah. Yeah, it's a trip. It still blows me away. It's like, how are we even saying this? Like, how do we, you know?
I know. And
how do we know this? But we do. I know it somehow. And,
like, going through the experiences we have, like, yes, for some people it's not that way. Mm-hmm. It hurt me knowing my spirit babies before all of this and being so connected to them. I almost, part of me previously wished that I hadn't.
So you don't have to grieve who they were. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was amazing getting to spend that time with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, and yeah, it's constant work.
It is.
Like,
it is, because whether you've experienced actually pushing a baby out or not, like, every time you conceive, like, the mother is born. Like, it's just, that's when it begins. Yeah. And so you've been catapulted, you've gone through it how many more times than even I've experienced. No, but seriously, it matters. It matters, because that's it starts then. And yes, I've experienced more in the way of, like, how long it's gone, but
oh God, I was literally in the first trimester for like a couple years straight.
Yes, exactly.
And everybody complains about it. I know.
It's the worst
I was like,
part.
I just felt like shit. And it was like, at least it was like kind of short for the most part. So then I would like just have really bad hormone resets. And then I'd have 1 month of like trying to reset. And then I'd get pregnant again. And it was like just non-stop first trimester. And it's like,
that's an insane entering into even like your spiritual journey. Like, think about how much that helped, like, in so many ways, even though it was painful and stuff.
Think for sure,
all that death and rebirth, because that's all the first trimester
all
is.
The time.
And then the fourth trimester you go through it again on a different angle, different disco ball, different side. But and I don't know anybody out there talking about how hard first trimester is. I don't know a lot of women out there that are like, oh, I feel like our parents, you know, they're like, oh, it was so easy. And even breastfeeding, so easy. Like, they've pushed all that stuff, like, so far away. Or, like,
all, like, traumatic experiences. Like, literally, with women, they will look back at their birth story, know in their heads that it hurt, but not be able to physically feel it again. So they're like, oh, it should be fine. I can do it again.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's fucking horrible.
No, I it's almost worse now, because the first time I thought, like, oh, like, I have a high pain tolerance. It is nothing.
That's cute.
Nothing you can ever, like, that is just insane amount of pain. And so now I know that's coming this time, and it's almost worse. Because I went in naive before of how bad it would be, and now I know.
Okay, so to be fair, though, so I'm going to relay this to the pain of a tattoo for a second, even though I know it's very, very different. So when I got my first tattoo, I was cocky as all hell.
Yeah.
I went in, that son of a bitch hurt so bad. Yeah. So bad.
Fair.
My second tattoo, I went in and I was like, my adrenaline had increased because I was already afraid. I'm like, oh fuck, this is really gonna hurt.
Remember how bad it was last time? Yeah.
Remember it. It was so painful, so I was already freaking out. So my adrenaline was going, which you need as a pain like relief.
100%, yeah.
And then I even told the tattoo artist, I'm like, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm really bad with pain. Like, I'm trying really hard to stay still. Like, please just Go easy on me. I'm sorry if I flinch. That tattoo didn't hurt at all, to the point where I was literally laughing at one point, and he's like, I thought you said you were bad with pain. But it was like, but you're hitting a nerve, and so my toe was twitching because it was on my leg. And so then I was laughing so hard, and I was like, yes, part of it was the areas that they were in.
Totally.
But also
just,
your adrenaline is going. The first time you're like, I got this. I'm strong. I can handle anything. And then it's like,
I'm like, no. And even in, speaking of birth too, like, you have so much resistance that you have to work through within your body, within your energy field, within your soul and your spirit. And for me, resistance from like a long lineage of like not being able to make it to the finish line. Like you know, my mom giving up, my sister giving up, like being caught in the medical system and being, you know, coerced into C-sections and never reaching the finish line. For me, like, the resistance that existed in my body was so much higher. So this time it won't hurt as much and it won't be as long because there's like 10 times less resistance to it.
And I feel like if you did go into the medical system at all, you would have ended up in the exact same way they did.
Every woman I know.
Yeah.
There's very few women I know these days that don't end up with an emergency C-section. So it's...
And when I started studying it and stuff, because I'm very much that, like, I wanted to do at home or in a birthing center or something. One, because I have a very... At the time, it was an irrational fear of the hospital because I had no experiences in the hospital. Now I have a mild fear. I'm a lot better now.
Yeah.
That healed a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. But, like, the amount of things they push to women to speed up birth, and then they're like, oh, and now this is happening, so we have to counter it. And I'm like, that was caused by what you just did.
Yeah. It's a whole string of interventions. And the thing is you are so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, when you're giving birth, that's what, like, my number one advice to anybody that's giving birth is who's around you. Because, like, don't have a single person around you that does not wholeheartedly believe in you or have, like, your best interest in mind. Because I was just talking to somebody yesterday about this, like, Brian never faltered once. But had I not had my birth keeper, Freya, there, like, I'm sure maybe I could have done it. We'll throw that out there as a possibility. But she talked me off of every cliff. Like, if I didn't have somebody to say to, I don't want to do this, I'm done, I hate this fucking sucks, and them to just sit there and help me process what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I would have ended up with, like, a C-section, but I could have easily taken drugs at one point.
100%.
I could have easily taken a little bit of, I was going to say methadone, but I meant morphine or something I probably, or they were handing me. I don't know if I would have done an epidural. I don't think I would have.
I wouldn't have. I'm terrified of fucking needles.
No, and that whole thing, it's got fentanyl in it. Like, it crosses the blood-brain barrier for your baby. Like, I was educated enough to know that, but I probably would have copped out in a few other ways.
When you're in the situation, too, they have a way of wording things to get you to do what they want.
The baby's in distress.
But it was even like, so even with like the second ectopic, we found it early before the rupture. Mm-hmm. Barely, but we found it before the rupture. And knowing now, I don't know if I would make the same choice that I made. Mm-hmm. Because they didn't explain to me the chances of being able to, like, save the tube if we did the surgery at that point. Mm. They basically just said, hey, we could try a medical route, which was, as most women don't know, is chemotherapy drugs that they pump into you.
And what's that supposed to do?
Basically, because the baby is fast-growing cells, just like a tumor, it goes in and it will kill fast-growing cells. Okay. But fast-growing cells in all parts of your body. Yeah. So it was like, things were like, my throat was insanely sore. Like, my whole body... But the idea
was to terminate it?
Yes.
Instead of taking the tube?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, it goes in...
That was your two options?
Well,
What they said, I'm saying. Like...
Those were the two options, but they kind of pushed...
The
chemo drugs, which they call something totally different. They don't explain at that point that it is chemotherapy. and it's 3 full syringes, and I'm a very small girl.
This gets me so riled up.
Yeah. And it was like, they didn't really even talk about the option of the surgery right away, but I was trying to avoid the surgery.
Of course.
But they didn't explain if there was a percentage of
consent.
No.
You're not actually. You're just told half the story and like pushed into one
direction.
Yeah.
And it was like, and they knew, because I was like, if I catch it early, I can do the drugs and get rid of it, which I thought was like a pill or like a shot of medicine.
Yeah. Not chemotherapy.
It's not.
No.
And then going through all of that, and that was like the most uncomfortable pain. My body felt like it was burning from the inside. And as somebody who doesn't take any medication, even Advil or Tylenol or ibuprofen ever, to have that pumped through my body, I felt it going into my blood and spreading.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy crap. So I was trying to like use my mind to like, I was doing my techniques of like pulling the medication from all parts of my body and pushing it just to that spot.
Yeah.
But it made me so sick and I felt so horrible.
I've heard that before, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, so good. And it was like dealing with all of that, and while the drugs were still in my system, a couple days later having the rupture and having to have surgery while I still had that in my system.
Yeah, that must have been really hard.
And it was like, so I did all of that for nothing.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like.
Of course, yeah.
And so looking back, it would have been really nice if there was even studies done to be like, hey, we could actually save the tube. Yes, we're going into surgery.
Yeah. But
we could save the tube because now they're both gone.
Yeah.
And it's like,
everything's completely gone?
I still have my eggs, so I could do IVF. I still have my uterus, so I could technically carry a child, but both of my tubes are completely gone.
So how does the egg get there? They would go in and take it out?
Yes. All of it's medical intervention now.
Yeah.
It would have to be medical everything. I would have to spend, because we're in BC, and this is one of the remaining last provinces, I would have to spend every single penny and thousands of dollars for IVF treatments, whereas in other provinces, it's covered.
Get the fuck out of
I know. I was joking about like going and living with my cousin in Ontario for a little while. I was like,
Because I gotta be honest, and I don't know if this is gonna hurt you or anything, but she's still like...
I know.
She's... makes me emotional, but she's still here. Like, I still see her. I still feel she's gonna come somehow, and I don't know how that makes sense, or I don't know, like, how, but I just feel it.
And and it's like we've talked about it all.
Ready, but
yeah, and that was the biggest thing for me was like, because for the last like 4 years, I've constantly put so much of my life on hold.
Yeah.
And our lives on hold. Because it's like, it's everything of like trying to plan a vacation.
Yeah.
There's so many places you can't go, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. I have eaten so many fucking sandwiches because like the number one, they're like, if you're trying to get pregnant or you are pregnant, don't eat like sandwich meat. I have eaten so many sandwiches since this all happened. I was like,
I know this bad.
Yeah. I was like,
but I get it.
Just like all of these things.
When it's been that hard too, it's hard to not go into hyper like
everything.
Restriction on like how to make it happen.
Well,
I get that.
And that was a lot of it where Dan, it would drive him insane. Like so insane. Because I'm like, well, I shouldn't have this if I'm pregnant, and there's a chance I'm pregnant, or like hot tubs and like all this stuff. And he's like, well, women all over the world do this all the time. And they still get pregnant. And I was like, yeah, but I'm having a hard time getting pregnant and staying pregnant.
I want to be perfect. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, I thankfully was never beating myself up for the losses for the most part.
Good.
For the most part, there's always those times where I'm like, why the fuck?
Any of that. Of course you're going to be like, what's wrong with me? Yeah.
Well, and it was... yeah, so many parts to that, but
that makes
knowing that like they're still connected, and it was so hard because I just needed to like separate for a while. For sure, disconnect for a while.
Yeah, because it hurts.
Yeah,
it would hurt to be like, but you're still here. But why are you still here?
I know, and it's like, and I know that I do want kids in the future and stuff like that. It's just going to be a lot longer and a harder route.
It's going to be different.
And I just needed a break.
It didn't necessarily... People do IVF and get pregnant all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to be hard, but is it going to be different? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so fertile.
No.
I know, and it's just fascinating to me because it's just a completely different journey.
Yeah.
And I remember, but Brian used to say, because I used to have this fear all the time.
Yes.
And I would hope I was pregnant every single month, even though we weren't trying.
And I was always scared that I was pregnant every month. Because I was like, I had previous partners, and since my teens, I was like, oh God, please don't be knocked up. Please don't be knocked up.
I would be, please let me have a mirror.
Oh my God.
All the time. I've wished my whole life to be pregnant. And I used to say to Brian, what if it doesn't happen? He used to say, we'll try and it'll happen. And I was like, it's really hard. And I had this whole, anyway, and then it was just, both times have been so easy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I'm doing it, but somehow I'm still breastfeeding and carrying a whole baby too, so.
Which at the same time, my body was really good at getting pregnant.
Yeah.
So that was never the problem.
That's true.
I was like, oh yeah, I got to the point I could get pregnant every single time we tried.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't keep a hold of it.
Yeah.
Which, knowing now that because when you have an ectopic pregnancy, you have a higher chance of it happening again, guaranteed a bunch of those other times, because most of them do abort themselves.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So there is a really high chance that a lot of those previous miscarriages were ectopic. And that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
We just wouldn't have known, because with the first one,
I just thought they would naturally do that anyway.
Oh, they were amazed with how large and healthy the first one was, where it was. They were like, wow, I made it quite a ways, all things considered, and it was it hasn't ruptured yet. That's actually crazy. It's so healthy, full heartbeat, full everything. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is, but it's also hard,
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Crazy.
Because it was just oh shit, yeah, I'm really good at this. I was doing a great job.
You really were.
But something else was fucking going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just... Part of it
is so big.
Yeah.
I don't know, and just, whatever Janine decided to come in here and have this experience, to put herself, I'm laughing, but, to put herself through this life experience, I mean, it's just,
It's so
crazy.
much.
It is. But somehow, some way, it's maybe next life you're just gonna be 12 babies.
Right?
You're just gonna
all of them.
you just had to I don't know.
I know.
I know.
It's...
But you're in this life now. I get it, and it would be hard, but just, that's where I go. I'm painfully optimistic. I'm painfully there always has to be a reason, and it's gonna pay off somehow, some way, even if it's not in this life, but.
Well, and I think that was one of the hard things, was because on this journey I had so much of my faith with me.
Yeah.
And so at the second one, losing all of it.
Yeah.
Where I just turned my back for a minute, I was like, fuck you all.
Yeah.
Fuck everybody, fuck everything.
Yeah.
I asked for one goddamn thing.
No, I hear you.
But it's I guess part of it too is the more I've been able to, I've been vocal about it the whole time since the moment it happened, with everybody, because again, it was something that wasn't super talked about.
Yeah.
And now...
verbal processing on your own.
Oh, for sure.
The more we talk about something, the more we even understand what we're saying.
100%.
So.
And it was when I would open up with women, I would have, with a group of women, I would have more than half of them coming to me after and be like,
I've experienced.
Yeah. I've dealt with miscarriage. I've dealt with an ectopic. The amount of women that have told me they've had an ectopic pregnancy.
You never would have known? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be this uncommon thing, but I'm
but
it's not.
Common.
It's super common.
Yeah. No, I hear that. That's why in my journey, I'm wow, okay, I guess this is just the lifetime I'm in, because, I have experienced, I don't know if I did or didn't, but my baby did come, this one, came in July, very briefly. She came and, I was maybe you know what it was? She came, felt her, knew it, was ecstatic, and then my period came like 6 days early. Like it was something like, I'm never early.
No.
I'm always like right on time, or like just enough to panic. Couple days where you're like, woo, baby, you know, and then, but this was like, she came 5 days early. So it was like, she did come and it needed to go. It wasn't the right time.
It was almost to show you that you're ready.
It was. And she gave me a lot of downloads. Like, she let me know about nutrition, how important nutrition was going to be for this pregnancy, and how she needed me to be strong and even like muscular. Like, she dropped a lot of codes when she came in. And that's what I meant with, like, they come in and they do something and then they leave. Like, that is we're supposed to experience a certain level of that, but it's hard when it's like beyond that, and it's like a suffering, and it's a and it just feels cruel,
right? I was like, I've
no time,
just
because I gotta keep an eye on it. I think it says 2:48. I can't see.
Yes.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, so it was like, there was so much that came through with all of those, and it was just,
I know,
it was a lot.
It's a lot.
I was like, it's funny because I guess the whole thing is like, before I do these interviews, I try and drop in and just talk to spirit and be like, anything that needs to come out,
let it come out.
And it was like, that wasn't even, none of that was anywhere on the radar. No, none of it was on the radar.
For some reason it needed to come out.
Yeah.
And it needed to be talked about.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And so it's like, it's honoring that part of it, of just...
It's the whole point.
Yeah, because we've had such different journeys, but we've both struggled in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Or different struggles. My struggles
100%.
come out in sleep. I can feel the same desperation that you're saying about why the fuck is this happening.
Yes.
Fuck you. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I have been there. Like, it's like I'm getting hot, but I've had that same rage.
Yes.
Not about the same thing, but to my guides and angels that I don't deserve, like with sleep, I can feel that pain.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just like, you hit your breaking point of just like, give me a fucking break.
I'm done. Yeah.
Like, 100%.
This isn't what we were thinking. No, this isn't.
No, I know.
No! No!
It's like, I
reject
know
this.
that I kind of agreed to some of this shit, but I don't think you fully gave me all the information. Like, I feel like there was fine print that we just didn't fucking discuss.
That I signed and I didn't know.
That I was like, yeah, sure, okay. You'll struggle with this. Not this entire thing. Like, you dicks.
Did I agree to this? Really?
Did I agree?
Like, you just slip it in after? No, I can... Because that's the most beautiful thing about being on this journey, or just talking to other people, is like, you can see yourself in them because you've experienced maybe not the same experience, but the same depth and emotion that it is to be human. Like,
100%.
We've all suffered.
Yeah.
There's just not all the same exact suffering.
No, and I think the problem that we have right now with suffering and trauma and all of that, is that comparativeness.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, well, my trauma's not as bad as yours, so it's not really trauma. It's like, no, it was still traumatic for you.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, it was still hard on you. Whether it was easier or harder, you can't, like, There's many people...
comparing trauma.
No, and they compare themselves to, like, well, I wasn't in war, or I wasn't in this. It's like...
But I was.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Yeah.
But it's like...
It's just comparative.
It doesn't matter compared to somebody else. Did it make you feel shitty?
Yeah. And
Did
we
it,
all
like...
have different levels of sensitivity as well. Like, we all just... You know, it took me so long to acknowledge that what I experienced in childhood was abuse and neglect.
Yes.
Like, it was so much, well, you know, I had my basic needs met, and I was loved as much as they could love, and they were stressed, and they didn't have the emotional capabilities to deal with me, and they didn't know how to, they didn't understand.
Yes.
And I used to make a million excuses, and those are the reasons, but it doesn't justify, you know, why my dad did the things he did to me. It doesn't excuse that he was just allowed to do those things to me because of all the things. Was I meant to experience this? Yes. But that doesn't change what it did to me and how traumatic that was. And now being a mom and having to not do those things that are just somehow hardwired into you, that you think about in the middle of the night when you're at your breaking point, they'll never be the level that my dad was at, because I'm just a different person and I have a different threshold and all of that.
And you've done a shit ton of work.
And I did a shit ton of work before going into parenting. Yes.
Yes.
But there are still things that are in you, that especially when you were like physically harmed and like verbally like abused in that way, that come up when you become a parent, and it takes everything in your power not to, and you do pass it on sometimes, but you do the repair work, and you're there to say like, this is why this happened, and it's still not okay, and you don't have to believe what I just said. Like, it's not true.
Yeah.
Even though I just said these things to you, it was my pain and what I was feeling that I put on you, and it's not something you have to carry. And that's, forgiving myself has been the biggest lesson that I've learned in this beginning of this motherhood journey. It's just like, I don't know, it's really freeing when you're like, oh, I did do that. Yeah, I screamed at the top of my lungs and gave a little push. Yeah. That happened. But before, I would sit in years of like regret and like beating myself up.
Of course.
And now I'm like, that just happened last week, but I'm like, but I repaired.
Yeah.
And it's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. I'm human. And that was a hard week.
And just knowing that like when you're aware of something too. Yeah. Then it's like, if you're like, okay, I really do want to change and I don't want to do that as much, then it's like, okay, you catch yourself before it happens next time. And you're like, oh, I saw you.
Yeah, I've been here before. I know what this need is. And I've already, that's why like so many things have already been eradicated, but I'm still going to do that sometimes. Like that's the thing I've had to admit to myself. I'm never going to be at this point where I'm going to catch it every time. It's still going to come out because that's me throwing a temper tantrum. That's me at 0 room.
100%.
Absolute room. But I think, I mean, for me, like, it started right away, but especially at, like, around 3 months is when I really discovered, my rage didn't disappear.
No.
Like, I thought maybe I'd like, it's gone, I healed it.
No.
No, 3 months postpartum, I realized that rage was just a monster. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just fury. Yeah. And we've been working on it since. Yeah. And it's so much better, but it's still, like, it's not emotion we're taught to deal with healthily at all.
No. I'm curious, too, in Donovan's, like, 3, what's his moon sign?
Aquarius.
Aquarius.
He's a Gemini, like Gemini sun, Gemini rising, Aquarius moon.
So it was really interesting when which will make you feel a little bit better. Yeah. So one of the things that I heard that was super interesting was that like your moon sign will represent how you saw like your mother growing up.
Oh. That's cool.
Right?
Emotional as fuck, and I have cancer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And she was like your home and your cancer and all of that. Yeah. So he will see you as like this intellectual, like free-spirited, like fun Aquarius thing.
Oh man.
So
that
it's
makes
like
so much sense though.
Yes.
You like when Donovan was 5 months postpartum, or when he was 5 months and I was 5 months postpartum, Brian and I went away and did a massive mushroom trip. Huge mushroom trip, and it was so needed and it was so healing, and I cried so much. But one of the things I asked before I went in is, show me what Donovan is meant to learn from me. Show me what I'm here for him, like, to do. And they gave me this one vision of me freaking out, throwing something in the kitchen, having like a big emotion, but it was showing me that he's going to see. It showed me like that clip, and it showed me in a different way and in a nurturing way. He said he was here to see an entire human. Like, he was here to experience a whole person, somebody that doesn't hide parts of themselves or push away. He was here to experience a woman in all of her like emotion, and the vision was him just standing there like, wow, like, but it wasn't affecting him is what I was like. I was always worried about like who I am is gonna make him like.
But you also have to understand, like, because I'm sure you've talked to Mira too, it's like,
so much.
With the Aquarius side of it too, is it's very detached and intellectual. So, like, with his emotions, you have to understand that you, as your super emotional moon, are going to be like, emotion, and he's going to look at it logically a lot of the time. Yes.
Yes.
So it's like,
He's all air too, like well, I guess, yeah. And so is Brian too, so it's really cool because he was never taught emotion. And so I know in this lifetime that is one of my biggest work with Donovan. Like what he was supposed to learn from me is emotion.
Yeah.
Like he's here to see all of it,
to understand
human emotion.
Yes.
And my job as his mother is to teach him about it and to help him find the emotion within him.
Yeah.
Help him label his emotions, help him understand what he's feeling. Yes. Coach him through that. So, yeah. I'm up for it. I have a really good idea of all the emotions, so
you're like, I got that down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just, as soon as I pieced together that moon thing, I was just like, oh my god, that's really cool. When you start looking at it.
That's so sweet, actually, because I can remember that more often.
Yes.
Yeah, and Brian has a Gemini moon as well, so, and even this next one. Okay, what's July? Beginning of July, end of June.
Oh, I can never remember. Mira, I know you're listening. Don't judge us.
It's not from Leo. It's like, she told me, but see, my moon, or my 5th house is there. And this baby is about my 5th house. Okay. And whatever that was, it lines up.
Yeah.
And then the next one, it's crazy, is in my 7th house. And then there's another, because she's taking predictive, it's true.
I know.
Mira, you're amazing. She's taking like an incredible astrology course. And she's looking at my chart and telling me, and I'm like, oh my god, this all makes sense. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's just, it's really interesting when you look through it.
It is.
I'm like, I don't even know where I lost track on. Oh no, it was probably mine. Because I'm a bad host and I leave my phone. No, it's game notifications. I have a problem.
I need to find a good game.
Oh, they're not good. They're just time wasters.
Sometimes I need some wasting.
So I'll jump into the other part because we've talked about like all of the motherhood stuff, everything.
Yeah.
So let's go into kind of what your offerings are. You are an intuitive channel, like card readings and stuff. You do all that for your clients. Mm-hmm. I was curious, when you do the readings and your clairs kick in, which ones are the strongest for you and like how do they actually show up?
Oh man, I love that. I don't know how I do it, first of all. It just happens. Like, that's my biggest mystery in life, is I can just tap in and it's just happening.
It's there. Yeah.
My biggest one is feeling. So either I will physically feel somebody touching me or something, or they will send me a transmission of emotion. Mm-hmm. So they will, and it's because, again, because I'm such an emotional being, they'll send me excitement or, they'll send me something that they feel towards that person, and then I interpret it and let them know. Or I would say clairsentience, I guess is the one it is. I feel the most, but the next down would be like visual, whatever that is. Mm-hmm. But it's like a third eye. Like I can see, like they'll show me something, or they'll show me a picture of like a book or something that's meaningful, or if they died like a pretty traumatic death, they'll show me, like I've had people show me them holding their heart, like showing me that they had a heart problem or holding something else. So I'll see a visual. It's like each part they show me in a different way. So I get, first thing is always a transmission of emotion towards a person. That's usually the first thing that comes through. And then I can feel, is that grandma, grandpa, uncle? Oh, this feels like somebody that was like, or they'll send me who they were. And then I'll have to like say like, this feels like a person that's like really light and jokey or like something like that. So it's always emotion first. Then I process who it is and what they're feeling. And then they'll usually show me their life with the person. Mm-hmm. And then they'll show me things that mean something maybe. But then I will also hear words. Yeah. Or see words. Or kind of hear them, but they're in my head, so it's hard to, like, I don't know, it's not like I'm hearing them, like,
I know, that one's so hard to explain to people, because, like, clairaudience, and it's like,
that's it. I used to know these really well.
I know, I only know some of them now, but it's hard because it's like, okay, I don't hear the voice the same I do outside of it. It's like I hear things in my head, kind of like when you have a song stuck in your head on repeat. Yes. It's like that, and you're like, it doesn't sound...
It's not me, but it's also not
it doesn't sound like my voice sometimes. It's either, sometimes it's almost like if it's a man, sometimes it's a deeper version of my voice. It's like me pretending to be a man.
Yeah.
And then like, or there's like a random accent sometimes. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, I don't think that way.
No, and you could just, and the one time I heard, and so I felt her kiss me on the cheek, and I said like, oh, I think somebody just kissed me, and she's like, oh, my grandma was Italian. I was like, oh. And so, yeah, but I heard it.
Yes.
And I kind of felt it, like it's both.
But yeah, it's like inside your head you hear things.
Yeah.
And it's
such
like
a hard thing to explain.
Right?
Because it's different than even a thought, or it's different than when I'm thinking about, it's just different. It just comes in unbeknownst too. Yes,
where a thought has a direction that it runs.
Yeah.
And this just randomly pops in your head out of nowhere, and you're like, that makes no fucking sense, but okay.
Yeah. No, and this stuff, like, that part of my whole, like, offerings, like, that's all just come so much more recently. I know I've always been able to do it, but it's something that I've strengthened somehow.
And I feel like part of it was, like, you learning to trust yourself with it more. Because when it's not like you see in the movies of like a man standing in the corner talking to you like a human being.
It's so hard to trust yourself at first. Yeah. And you think you're just crazy and like making this up. And even now, sometimes I don't say things, but I've gotten a lot better at just blurting them out.
Yeah.
You get somebody that you're saying, this is the most frustrating thing, it's like a medium where they're giving you fuck all, and they're just like, no, that doesn't make sense. No, I don't know who that is. Or like they don't even try to like. Yes. Not that I need you to like guide me, but it's a back and forth.
It is. It's a conversation.
I need you to fill in gaps because it's not mine to understand.
No.
So if I say like I'm feeling the dad and they're like, well, I never knew my dad. It's like, okay, but he's still fucking there. Sorry.
Yeah, or it could be a father figure or something
somebody,
like.
Yes. Or I lost my uncle. Most people will say that and you're like, oh, uncle.
Thank you.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I hear it now. It's Peter. Like. You need sometimes them to fill in the pieces. These weird connections, because like especially, okay, so one of the annoying things is like I have, which I didn't know was a thing until I started looking more into it, was like claircognizance, which is clair-knowing. Yeah, okay. And so it's like... You just know things. Exactly. But how do you trust yourself when you try to explain to someone, I just know. I just know this about you. And I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know how I know, but I know. Yeah. And it's like, I get that all the time. Yeah. And it's like, or they'll walk in and I'll be like, I just suddenly know everything about you. Or I know, like... And thankfully, I try to, like, leave it, like, in my sessions to just, like, okay, when I set up the boundary with myself that... In my sessions, my clairs will kick in more when I do Reiki, like, hands-on. So it's like, when... Physical touches. Yeah, because I wanted to be able to help somebody on our one-on-ones, because we'll, like, have a conversation at the beginning and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so to work on kind of what they need worked on, and then more tap into the intuitive, like, what is needing to be also come up later. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes it's just... It just makes a huge difference how open person is. Like, I can have sometimes a session where I'm like, oh my God, that was incredible. Every single moment I was so into... And then I can come out of a session sometimes and just... They were so energetically closed off or distracted or that's where the Reiki comes in because they're like calm and relaxed and I'm like right in their energy. In traffic and they're like looking at... I'm like, this isn't a thing on me, but like I can feel that your energy's not here with me. Here, yeah. And I've even had people in sessions. I've had a couple experiences where I've had to like, actually, like I was doing readings for people like not in person. So, and I love doing those too. Those are actually so special because you just are so clear because you're not looking at them. Nothing. Everything is just completely channeled, and those are really fun. But I've had people that I've had to say I can't do it because I can't reach you. Whatever it is you have set up, people that I don't know, like they'll reach out and be like, can I have a reading? And I've had to write back and be like, I'm sorry, I've tried tapping in 3 times and I can't get anything from you. Yeah. Maybe it's not meant to come from me, or maybe, like, I'm not the right person for you, but it's hard. It's hard. And that's super hard because then also you start second guessing yourself. So I did for a while. Now I'm like, now I know it's them.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to get over that. I used to think something was wrong with me. Every bad session I would have, I'd be like, do I even have, like, it's the hero's journey so much
100%.
to get to where I am now.
And, like, at least for me personally, like, people aren't coming to me for that. They're coming to me for Reiki, and it gets to come through bonus. In the session. Yeah. And what I realized, too, was it's super interesting. So when I'm doing the Reiki sessions, if somebody's needing more physical healing, like if their muscles or intestines and, like, all that, if it's mostly physical that they're needing, I see, like, what needs to be worked on, and I can energetically move on that.
Be more focused on that.
Yeah, and it's like, as soon as it turns into they need more emotional, then I get more things of, like, ways to guide them to help them with that. And then also, then it's like, then sometimes we dive into past things, because I'm like, okay, so,
this
like, this. Yeah. So it's like, it's almost 3 distinct, totally different sessions.
Yeah, I feel
and like
that.
Yeah, and somebody comes in and they're like, oh yeah, no, I have nothing even physically wrong with me. And then I'm like, I don't know why, but the whole time I was needing to, like, work on your stomach. Like, are you having indigestion issues?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like,
I guess
okay. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, I just completely forgot.
Yeah.
Then I'm like,
no, I can see that. Yeah. And that's why I try to go into every session, like, I have my favorite types of sessions, like, and I really do. Like, I love being a medium. Like, I love really connecting with somebody's grandma or something like that. But I also love people that are on their journey and wanting to see, like, feeling like they're stuck or they're lost or they're not where they're supposed to be, and I get to just be that reassuring, like, you're always, spoiler alert, you're always where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
You're never lost, you're never doing something wrong. Like, when you're wrong, you're still right. Like, but I know that's a lot of the clients I get. It's just people that are like, I think I'm going crazy, and I'm like, you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is coming, like, all the things, you're just in this waiting period, like, I can't even tell you how many sessions I have that are, like, carbon copies of and I'll get them in floods where they'll be like, all of a sudden
it's like the same theme. Clumps come up, and you're just like,
I know.
Or I'll learn something and I'll do work on myself and I'll learn this thing about myself and unlock this whole new level.
Yes, and then
all of them, everybody has the same thing. I'm like, oh, that's why I needed to learn. Yes.
No, it's so cool when you can actually learn from what you're doing too, and I feel this. Yeah. All
the time. Yeah, that's so fun. Okay, so is there any advice you would give someone that's, like, just jumping into card reading and channeling and stuff like that?
Yeah, just practice. There's no, like, you're not going to be there right away, and that's okay. Like, learn, and just keep trying, keep practicing. I think the biggest journey is just, like, all of this is just learning to trust yourself, which I think is just, again, practice.
Yep.
You can't, like, I wanted to say to trust yourself. That's not, you don't just hear that and then suddenly, oh, I trust myself.
No,
like, you have to learn that. And so that's what this whole journey is just trust yourself. It's a muscle. Yeah. It's a muscle like anything else. So the more you do it, the more incredible it gets and the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
But there's no right way to do it and there's no right medium. But if I was to say, like, say you wanted to card read or do tarot or any of those things, I went real hard into learning the book version of every single thing and what the star means. And yes, somewhere in there it's there, but I strayed so far from that. Like,
well, because you do more of the intuitive reading. So, like, some people do, like, the straight to the book, to the meaning, tarot card pull, Celtic cross every damn time.
Yeah.
And it's
I started there, for sure.
Yes.
And then it moved full intuition.
Yeah.
Now I have no idea sometimes sometimes I'll know the story of, like, what it's supposed to, like, talk about.
Yeah.
But it's usually, like, the fact that his right leg is, like, it's something, I don't know, I honestly don't even use the cards anymore at all in my sessions. Sometimes people still like to see them, so I'll kind of do it. Or
it's almost a comfort level for people, so they think that, like, the cards are a part of it.
Yeah,
like,
it's all me. It's all me.
Yeah.
So, but there will be times if I'm struggling in a session with a person where I will kind of ask for that third party visual to kind of catch me something because I'm like really struggling to connect.
Yeah, and if they're closed off and they're
It's
like,
more
I don't know
them.
why,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here or what I need
Yeah.
or blah, blah, blah. Or they're so scattered that sometimes it gives a direction of like,
It
we're
does.
supposed to talk about this
We're
today.
supposed to talk about your job. This is obvious to me with this.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but most of it, a lot of it is just completely, I don't know. It's just there and it just comes through. And I'll know exactly what they've been experiencing and how they've been, I get this snapshot. So whether I'm being a medium for somebody always comes through. Grandma, grandpa is always like, as soon as I call on your energy, people come. And I feel like a crowd or I feel an animal or I feel something.
Okay, but isn't it so cool when you're in like a big group of people and you call everybody's guides? It's like whoosh, and you're just like, oh
we're
shit.
jam-packed
I'm like, I feel a little crowded right
just
now.
like a horse.
Yeah, everybody else is all spaced out and you're just like, I feel
There's
a little
there's a
okay.
Sasquatch. I don't know. Like there's just like, yeah.
It's like, it's intense sometimes.
It can be. And for me too, like, until I'm in it, yes, I'll pick up clues and intuition about people, but I have to really, I have to intentionally open myself up to be to that point. I don't just walk around. Sometimes somebody will say, like, oh, I'm going to have a baby and I'll feel girl, boy. Something like that. Maybe. Yeah. Or they'll say something to me and I'll feel something, but I'm not walking around feeling everybody's grandma.
No, it's not like Teresa Caputo or whatever the heck it is. Yeah.
I have to focus on you and I have to call on your energy and call on your people. But I've set it up that way too. I don't want to be just walking around.
No.
Oh, did your uncle, recently die of...
Yeah. Well, and even recently, because I've done the same thing where I'm like, I have my boundaries. Yeah. I have that. I have times I want to tap in and times I don't. Because otherwise it's super draining for you as well.
Yeah. I don't need to do this all the time.
No. And so even the other day, I was like driving past, driving past like a cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And I never even thought of like checking in with a cemetery in person ever. Yeah. And then I was like driving past, I'm like, oh. And then I was like, whoa, okay.
You draw your attention? No,
yeah. It was just like, oh, okay, let's like shut this down again for a minute and just keep on with my day. Because that was a lot more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just a switch. And that's the advice is like, too, as well as like, it's already in you. You already have the ability to do this. It's just learning to trust yourself and just keep practicing. Like, just keep practicing. Whatever it is you're wanting to do. And I always tell people too, like if you really want to make this a business and stuff, like go out there and just do it. Because again, it's self-confidence. Do it for free if the money is like what worries you and like
friends and stuff.
Just practice. Yeah. Just practice over and over again. And it's already in you. Like, if you're already trying and you're already interested, then you're going, like, it's calling you.
Yes.
Like, it's set in stone that you're going to be doing it. So knowing that there's a future version of you that's already telling you, like, hey, start practicing. It's just practice.
Yeah, we got work to do. Let's get on it.
Yeah. No, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so you also do some coaching and stuff. So does that kind of stuff come up with your coaching clients?
Yeah. And that's why it's so confusing even to me, you guys. Like, I'm all of it because some people need that from me. Some people need me to just help them, coach them through how to handle a difficult situation with their mom. I worked with a girl for like an hour and a half where we just came up with like plans and I would help her understand why she was experiencing the things that she was experiencing with her mom. So I'm here to like help you also understand where your trauma is and what a trigger really is, and to show you that you're not crazy in what you're experiencing, that there's real reasons for it.
Yeah.
But then so much, spiritual stuff will come through as well. But some people also don't need that side of me. Like at all. Like they just need a practical and logical coach. And so it's kind of, I'm just a melt of all of that. Yeah. And I have an extensive knowledge, just like you do probably, is like when you heal your own trauma, like you get it and you've learned all about the nervous system. And
we went to the School of Hard Knocks. So some people learn it in like
a school.
Oh my God, through a textbook, through like psychology degrees. I'm like, no, I lived it all.
I lived it. Yeah.
I know what it feels like in your body.
Yes. Yeah. And being an intuitive, I can, even if I've never experienced exactly what they're experiencing, I can feel enough of it to make sense of it and help them put it into words. So again, I don't know where this is all, like, going for me as far as, like, what the future has, but yeah, this is just what I do now.
Yeah, that was literally, like, the next question was, like, what do you see kind of coming up for you in the next year, even?
Yeah.
I guess you
I know,
divulged a baby.
Yeah, another baby, but also just, it fills my cup to do more spiritual readings, and I even feel myself coming back into that zone again. It's, again, for me, it's pockets of, like, if I open myself up energetically, everybody will be there, and then I'm closed, and, you know, and it's just, I don't ever see this being something that I do, like, 9 to 5 every single day, even though I would love that security, and that it's just not who I am. But I also see working more specifically with mothers and helping them navigate, because if there's one thing that, besides, like, spirituality, that I'm passionate about, it's children, and like, understanding how they work and how their brains, and helping mothers connect in that way to their kid and understand behaviors and get back in touch with, like the healing of the mother. There's something there that's coming that I feel. And just, I always wanted to work with children, though, like, and I have, on and off. It's just, the systems we have set up right now are not ones that call my heart. But I always have understood that, like, troubled child, or the one that's, like, crazy or having bad behavior, because I was her. At least, and I just had unmet needs. And so I would love even just to be a communicator between what the child is experiencing and why, and helping parents understand. Like, bringing
just
parents,
have that, like,
be that bridge.
Without being, like, a counselor, basically, but kind of counseling the two of just,
exactly.
like...
I was going to say, like, credentials and all that. I'm not going back to school for this, but being that bridge between, okay, I'm going to analyze the child's behavior, I'm going to really understand
the whole situation.
And I'm going to... And it has to be parents that are open and wanting to, like, you know, receptive to the change, but something there I felt that coming for a long time. But I think I needed my children, like, real life experience to have, even just, like, credentials, like, to be a mother, like, you can't just have advice and not have lived the experience of, you know. I mean, you can.
It's
kind of... You really can, but it's different.
It's coming at it from, like, a different perspective, I find.
Of a lived experience instead of just knowledge that I have. Yeah.
100%. Like, you can study all of these things, but living in person is completely different in a lot of ways.
Totally.
So, I have at the very end a couple of rapid fire questions that I go through with everybody. But first, how can everybody find you?
Instagram. At Leesa Smiles. I guess you can put it, like, in the show notes. But that's, like, just find me there. Like, that's where I'm most active. That's where you'll get to know who I am and see all of me. And again, I haven't been as active in my posts, but I am super active on my stories. That's me. And that's my brand, is just me. There's no... I have no, like... I have no brand. I have nothing. It's just me. So, at Leesa Smiles.
And then also they have the podcast.
Oh, my podcast.
I do that to you every time.
The Love... What's it called?
Love Leesa Podcast.
The Love Leesa Podcast. That is where you will see even a more in-depth version than you do on Instagram.
And, like, if they're
my Instagram's still a little filtered because I still have a lot of family. I can't talk about all my... and even on my podcast, I'm ready to even dive to a whole other level of...
That's kind of with this. I'm fine being fully open with all of this now, because I hit my point of, like, if I'm not living my life for myself and being authentically me, then I'm just doing myself pain. So it's like, and if they're not listening, even if you're not as, like, frequent as, like, every single week with it or anything like that, they now have, like, 40 episodes to listen to, so it's fine. Totally. They can still listen to one every week.
It honestly, it makes it, when I first started the podcast, I was like 10 people. If I got 10 listeners, I would be stoked.
I know, right?
But then it happened right away, and I was like, okay, I should have set my bar higher, but it changes, and it's not a reflection of your self-worth at all. It's just, I think a lot of people, too, sometimes, like, the depth at which I talk about things, people aren't necessarily ready to, like...
100%.
Or they're like, what What is she on about?
Well, and it's so interesting to see your growth through it, too. Because like you said, you guys started it one way and then it's morphed into another, and like even you'll have Brian, your partner, on a couple times, and it's just so funny, and I was like, this is great.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I've been meaning to bring him back on too, because he's got a lot to say.
Oh yeah.
He just kind of annoys me. Now in the podcast realm, like it's like he has a hard time being, focused.
Oh, 100%.
He's eating donuts and slurping on coffee, and he's just there for a good time.
Yeah,
I have to loosen the reins a bit when
I know.
Let's talk deep, Brian. He's like,
I know, it's funny because Dan's been giving me a hard time. He's like, I should have been your first interview. And I was like, no. What I'm doing with him is like, I'll have him on later. Sure. But it's like, it's going to be interesting for me because a lot of the stuff I talk about in here, I don't always talk about with him or anything like that. So having him listen to all of that, well, because I am now more so the same person in all aspects of my life. But for a really long time, there was a massive separation. Yeah. So
that's been the coolest thing for me to see.
Yeah.
No, but actually to experience you going from like hiding everything.
Everything hidden, everything
you
like
telling me you put a heart in your food with the oil, and that was your witchcraft, and that was the level that you were allowed.
And it was like
to do,
and like hiding little things, like I would have like candles and crystals, but they'd all be hidden in like a little chest. But then the chest got too big, and I was like, oh shit, this stuff is just all over my damn house.
I love that. That's been my favorite part of watching your growth, is like it all just like combining into one person. Yeah, and getting more comfortable with who you are too.
Well, and that was part of it. One was the comfort and coming back to who I've always been.
Yeah.
Always.
That's the journey.
But it was like releasing that expectation of judgment that I thought other people would have on me, and just being okay with that.
I think we're just judged so much, and we just assume everybody's out there.
Yeah, and I would rather have somebody judge me for who I truly am than not know me. Because I can't, like, there were so many times in that, like, corporate job that I had before and everything. Yeah. Of just, if they knew me on the side, like, what I do on weekends, they would be like, holy crap, it's a totally different person. Yeah. And that started killing me.
No, because it was like... It's not authentic. We can't live lies.
No.
For so long.
And it was like 5 days a week of just being...
a totally different person.
Yeah, a different aspect of myself.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say a totally different person.
Wait, it wasn't totally...
But it's also a stifled down, like, watered down...
And, like, having to watch what I said, because also, again, with the whole pregnancy thing, I have been trying to get pregnant that entire time I was at that job. But as a woman in a corporate job, every time it came up, I had to say, oh, no, we're definitely not trying to have kids anytime soon, because I wanted to climb the ladder.
Of course, yeah.
And it was like, and I wanted to not, like, and so, of course, even as an example, totally sidebar, that was one of the things is, like, on the multiple miscarriages, I wouldn't even call into work sick. I had a miscarriage at work. Oh. And still worked my whole day. Oh. And it's like, that was so dishonoring of myself.
I know. But
but it was like, I need to get by. I need to just, like, be here and this. And it's like...
It's crazy. Janine now would never allow that.
No. I would be like, peace out.
Yeah, like...
I am like, I did peace out. I was like, no. As soon as they showed me...
You have to learn what you're worth. Like, it's not... And because we lose it.
When I told my boss what I was going through, because nobody at work knew about this, what type of surgery it was. They just knew that I had an emergency surgery. Yeah. And when I had told my boss about the emergency surgery, his reaction to it was, in my opinion, so uncaring and so hurtful to me that I was like, I cannot allow myself to be in a space where someone can't even take 2 seconds to be like, I'm sorry you're going through that. And that's all I needed. And I probably would have tortured myself for a few more months. But I was just like,
but maybe
that's all it was.
Though.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
This is funny. I'm going to make it quick and hurtful. Yeah. But
I was like, I was keeping that job until I got pregnant. I kept getting pregnant, couldn't keep anything. And then I was like, what am I doing? And then I was forced to leave.
That's the big awakening, hey? Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah. Oh, man, I have so many things to say about that, too. But
right?
yeah.
I know.
It's insane.
Okay, so quick rapid fire, and then I will let you run off.
3:17. I just need to know. You can got this down.
3:27.
Oh fuck. Okay. It started at 3:15. They're probably like, okay.
Okay. Quick rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. Would you rather watch a movie or read a book?
Oh my god. Sorry.
Everybody does that right away.
No, but it's just because neither.
That's fine.
Neither. I don't have a lot of. I don't know.
I feel like it's all in your head anyway. You don't need to.
Yeah, I don't really watch movies, and I don't really probably read a book.
Probably.
That could probably hold my attention longer. Yes, it's more of an attention thing. I'd rather guard it. There's just other things I'd rather do. Okay, but anyway, yeah.
So your favorite season of the year?
Fall.
Sweet or savory?
Probably savory. I like salt and carbs and cheesy things.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
What is your favorite plant?
Classic plant, tulip. I just love a tulip. But also sunflowers. I don't know. I like flowers. Oh man, I could keep going. Because it's there's a bush and there's a,
I know.
My favorite tree is different from but let's just say tulips. I really love tulips. I don't know why.
Best place you've ever been?
Definitely Costa Rica. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yep. Favorite form of body movement?
Dance. Yeah. Something where I don't even realize I'm moving, but in dancing. I love dancing.
So your preferred way to manage stress and overwhelm?
Dance. But also stretch and walk. Movement in general.
Just kind of get it shifting out of your body.
Shifting out, but I also love eating. That actually, we could say it's unhealthy, but it is such a way to ground me. Sugar, anything that brings me back into my body.
Nice.
And food is definitely 100% one for me.
Yes. What's your favorite type of music?
All music, and I seriously mean that, but I probably love EDM or kind of I don't even know what to call it, techno house, something with a real heavy beat,
drum and bass.
No, computer, but just has a massive drop or big, that kind of stuff just lights me up, and a cool sound in the background, or just even songs without lyrics, I can't even give an example, but even just Steve Aoki, I don't know what that is, house music, EDM, techno, that sort of stuff with a real heavy drop and beat. I want the beats per minute to be so fast that I can't even. That's the best for the speed at which my brain works. Yeah, I like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I use this loose term, the best mythical creature?
Fairies.
Yeah. I was
they're not mythical.
I know, that's why I said I use it loosely.
Unicorns and then mermaids, probably, yeah.
I was it's so funny because everybody asks, I'm okay, I want to say, for a lot of people, they consider them mythical.
Yeah. No,
except for, all of my friends.
Yeah, they're so not mythical, but fairies, yeah. 100%.
What is one of your greatest accomplishments so far?
Honestly, great. I just feel I'm always successful. I
know how you meant that, and that's why it's so funny. You're I'm always just.
But I never try anything that I don't succeed at. I actually, I don't say that as a conceited way, but it's something that I've had to learn to honor. It's if I put my heart into something, but I do well.
Yes.
But I will say probably just the way that I've mothered so far in Donovan. I was just talking to somebody recently. We go to play groups now, and he's gotten to such an incredible point in his attachment where he will attach to other figures in the room, other women, other people. He'll sit on their laps. Yeah. He'll play with them, and that is my biggest accomplishment because it's I created a positive attachment with my child, and that was my number one goal. Yeah. Was secure attachment, and I knew that it depended on dependence on me and me being there every moment of every day, and that I formed that. And being there for him at night, all of that now he can go out and trust other adults. Yes. Is literally, to me, that's right now in my life, I would say that's like, I'm like the biggest like, yes! Leesa! Like, that makes me the most proud right now, is watching him do that. And I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
Well, and Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is Brian. Brian's an incredible father that way too, but primary attachment figure is still me. So it's like, that makes me really proud.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's all I pretty much have.
Man, that was good.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to listen to myself.
Yeah.
And you. And
it's
all
like,
of this, like, I always listen to all my own episodes. I hope you do too.
I do.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Yeah. Well, because you're working on them. Like,
yes.
Yeah. No. Like listen to your own shit, because it's cool when you hear yourself speak and you're like, oh my god.
Well, and it was funny because like doing the editing process and stuff before, I find listening to that, even listening to it when I feel like it's done all the way through, is different than like when it's posted and listening to it. Because I was like, oh
yeah. I used to do that too, where I'd listen to it before I posted it, and then I have to listen to it once I posted it. Yeah. Totally. I listen to all my own episodes. You have to.
Yeah.
You're gonna be your biggest fan.
Oh, I am. Yeah. It was like, that's one of the biggest things. I was doing this partially for me.
It is.
So it's like, of course I'm going to listen.
That's the best part of having a podcast. It's for you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like we can have as many people on, and like, but it's like the growth that will happen.
Yeah.
The growth that you experience having your own podcast.
And it's really fun seeing where the random tangents come in.
Yeah, I'm still on that.
Yeah,
I still talk about that. Like,
well, and to be fair, like, because I record a couple episodes together, it's like, oh yeah, that's totally in my head this week.
Yeah,
and it's like, it's just so funny. It's like, did I plan it that way? I don't know.
Maybe.
Who knows?
But thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again to Leesa Garnett for joining me on this week's episode of the Wild Nova podcast. To hear more from Leesa, you can find her on Instagram at Leesa Smiles, or her podcast, Love Leesa, is on Spotify and other podcast platforms. If you found any resonance in today's discussion, don't forget to share, subscribe, and leave a review. Your engagement really means a lot to me. Connect with me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Wild Nova Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at info@wildnova.ca. And as always, visit my website for any additional resources at wildnova.ca. I'm your host, Janine O'Brien. Remember, the connection between your body, mind, and spirit is a journey worth embracing. So until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.